Yeah, everyone, this is Thermite, and this is Weekly Shonen Jump for the week of May 31st, 2020. On the cover, we've got Emma from the Promised Neverland. Now, I have not checked to see if this is the final chapter or not, but I'm getting big final chapter vibes from this image specifically. I also haven't looked at the Japanese cover just in case I wander into spoilers or something. But, judging it by just the banner on Viz.com right now, it is Emma, giving a farewell, which feels like a very big, we, the audience, are left in the demon world. She's saying goodbye. She and, all the kids are going to the human worlds. And also, her series is Leaving Jump. It is also completely possible that this is just a color page, or like a color cover of Jump, and we're not getting anything. But that would feel so weird to me if we have like 2 or 3 chapters left, or even like 2 chapters left, and then this is the cover of Jump, and also we get another Promised Neverland cover of Jump. Oh. So it's either this is the final chapter or this is not the final chapter and we have like a tiny mini arc or so, or like an epilogue, which I could see, like a 2 chapter epilogue after this, perhaps. It is just a beautiful image too. Like, I can't stop looking at Emma's eyes here. They have this really nice, like, glimmery effect to them that I really appreciate. Fosca's so good! Anyways, let's jump right into Actage, chapter 114.
Read Promised Neverland first.
Okay. Alright, change of plans. We are reading The Promised Neverland, chapter 179. Well, let's see what's gonna go on. So, it's Phil, all the other kids are there. I'm curious as to how many kids are there specifically. Like, is it just, the group that was there when, is it just the Gracefield group? Or is it literally all the kids, all there on this beach? But, oh boy, this is it. This is the human worlds. Chapter 179, Compensation. It's not all the kids, but it's so many of the kids. It's been a while since we've had a shot like this. And this is it's a photograph. Like, in universe, it's a photograph. And the way Posca, has it blur up here, especially, that's really cool. To show that it is a physical, photo that we are looking at. Like, in addition to it capturing things blurrily like this, all the stuff over here is blurry because of the light shining in from window, but then over here, the focus is out a little bit, which is why the owl is blurry, and there's what is that? Is that just a pigeon, I guess? Oh, that's probably, yeah, they had, a carrier pigeon at one point, right? Norman's group, I mean. And then Palvis is here, for some reason. I thought that was Ray for men, but that can't be Ray. That's too small to be Ray. It's so homey. I'm sure when Donut sees this, he'll have a lot to say about all the kids and stuff, but I just like the general homey vibe of it. Compensation, I think, refers to... I could go both ways. If this is going to be, a longer arc, it could be, in order to live in this world, you have to, pay, you have to have compensation. But I think it's going to be instead, the kids have suffered for this long, therefore, someone in the human world will pay compensation. Or even, the demon world will pay compensation. They'll pay, not continuously, but they'll, give the humans, some amount of money or gold or something, and that'll pay for the care that the kids need. Or something like that. Because, if we are going for the full happy ending, which I'm still 50-50 on, but if we are going for the full happy ending, I could see that being you don't have to worry about the kids, you don't have to worry about the granular little details of their lives, just, they're gonna have a good time. But I'm still 50-50 on it. Alright, we did it! It's the human world! The architecture doesn't look that weird, honestly. This is in the future, but I think this is a good way to depict the future. It's, what is it again, 2050 something, 2060 something, around there? I would say the way the world is right now is not that visually dissimilar from the 1950s. Sure, there are some big differences. Or, the 1970s would be a better example of, 50 years or so. Or, I keep on forgetting we live in 2020. If it is the 2060s, I believe, is when Promised Neverland takes place, that is, only 30 years or so in the future. So it would make sense for more or less everything to be the same. Like we have a couple buildings, some like very new architecture that looks very stunning and different, but a lot of architecture is, like still holdovers from older architecture or they're designed in the same way. I don't know why I'm so focused on that. It's just I was this the whole time I have been wondering, like, are we gonna get like a super sci-fi human world? Is it going to be super like crazy? Isn't this great, Emma? Now, do we see Emma or don't we? Emma's not here. And, I mean, now, as I said last chapter, I did think, like, maybe she is saying, there's nothing, there's no payment, there's nothing, it's fine, in order to, get the kids to go when she does have a secret payment she has to give. The alternative, though, is this could be a bait and switch. Like she is physically here, but we just don't see her initially, or like she landed in a bush or something. But if she did have to pay something, like maybe this will go all the way back to the theories of everyone you love gets to go. I want your family, and by when I say I want your family, I mean I want you to be separated from your family. Like your payment is that you don't get to go with them. That said, like, it's really on a knife's edge. It could go either way, especially since it immediately comes up here. And I love that we're seeing both Ray and Norman, like, go through this in their minds. Like, both of them are people who, prepared for the worst case scenario. And Emma made, over the course of the series, Emma has made both of them drop their guard. She has made both of them believe in a hopeful future. But in doing so, of course, she got them drunk on the desire, the desire to see a perfectly happy ending. They were blindsided by what actually ended up happening. Okay? So I spoke a little, I didn't speak too soon when it came to the architecture, but this is definitely some future tech. Now, who are these guys? It's also weird that they are all men. Like, when it comes to adults in the Promised Neverland, they have primarily been female caretakers. Like, they've been the moms and the grandmas and, the sisters. So, to see a bunch of men, I think, actually, like, it is a really good visual shorthand for this is a different world. This is the human world. Like, yeah. Aha. Code Solid, I already know. I'm not your enemy. Our clan will no longer harm you children. So, he did, like, yeah, the information is out. And hopefully, that like the Ratcheries perhaps are going to be the ones who pay compensation. The question is also, I've been asking this for the entire series. What did the humans get out of the promise? We know what each side paid, and we know that the division between the two worlds is mutually beneficial. But then the demons also managed to get the kids, like they were allowed to continuously harvest human children. It has been implied that the humans should have something else, so do they or do they not? Next, we're reporting on the mysterious children with numbers and markings on their necks and stomachs, who have been discovered all around the world. Okay, so I wonder how they were sent. Like, I assume these are like different groupings of, like, this was this farm, this was this farm. Also, I guess the mysterious children with numbers implies that, like, the world didn't know this was happening. Like, they were not teaching in schools that there are kids in the demon worlds who are numbered and all that. I guess they might know that there are kids in the demon world, but they wouldn't know anything about the numbers or anything. Oh, it's so... Oof. This feels so wild to be, like, in another world, and now we're just diving straight into it. It's not a big exploratory thing. Like, they are being led by the Ratcheries now. We were found in the former United States of America. Wait, what? These sides of the region now called Arizona... Okay, it was 2047. That's so much closer than I thought. Like, that is just 27 years. From 2020 to 2030, there were recurring instances of abnormal weather, natural disasters, epidemics, and food shortages, and a world war erupted and lasted for 10 years. Now, this is being written in 2020, so this is a bit concerning. Oh boy. I mean, the epidemic already there. A lot of this stuff is, it's all things that are happening right now, honestly. Like, even the abnormal weather, I don't know if that's specifically referencing anything happening right now, but there's been abnormal weather, it happens every year, everywhere. There are horrible things always happening, so I can see all of this being, like, directly referencing things happening now. I guess that abnormal weather might actually be the wildfires in Australia, now that I think about it. Only caring about yourself at the expense of others would no longer work. In order to survive, humanity as a whole needed to be saved. Now, this is... Again, I like to think I'm an optimist, but I am, I guess, realistically more of a pessimist. Because As I'm reading this, like this feels very, very hopeful, but I don't truly buy into it. Also, like if we're not setting up that this is all a facade, it's possible that the reason why national borders were abolished, the world became one large nation. Like the reason why this could feasibly happen, in addition to this widespread threat against humanity, like the just general bad for humanity times happening. It could also be that the demons gave, back when the promise happens, the demons gave the humans something that makes this all more feasible, and now that's gone. Oh, when national borders abolished, there's no concept of immigrants. The situation makes it easier for us to be accepted. Like, yeah. So it is a one world nation. So it isn't going to be a, like, so the kids being scattered about most likely isn't a real problem in terms of, like, where the kids are. It probably is just they were sent to different locations where they would be accepted. Or where, they would initially, not immediately be killed, or they wouldn't immediately die in the desert or something. If Emma made the promise exactly in those words, I want all the children on the farms to go to the human world. Gargablog can't take Emma's life or keep Emma in the demon worlds. Yeah, because that was a big thing. Like when Gargablog was saying, this is what I want from you, last chapter. It did specifically note, like, if I want your family, but because your wish says they have to all go to the human world, I can't do that. So yeah, and the wish does encompass Emma. That said, like it shouldn't have moved the adults at all, right? I mean, I guess in the like with the system the way it is, there wouldn't be a. Ah, I'm really second guessing myself now. Like in terms of the adult thing, because she wanted to break the connection between the two worlds, and she wanted all the kids to move, but that would still leave the adults there. Like I imagine with Sonju and Mujika as the rulers of the demon worlds, they wouldn't allow another farm system to happen. Sure, but it's still imperfect. This is the big question. As I said last chapter, like Emma is the kind of person who wanted everyone to go. She wouldn't sacrifice herself because she hates the concept of sacrificing yourself. I mean, there's also the possibility of she made the promise in a way that Gargablarg was able to find a loophole in. Like, she didn't intend to sacrifice herself, but she did. And, like, of the main trio, Emma, Ray, and Norman, like, Ray and Norman have both tried to sacrifice themselves, and, Emma's had to stop them. So I can see, like, I could see this being like an arc of Emma maybe didn't even want to sacrifice herself, but she has been sacrificed in a way, so now the kids have to go save her. It seems like we are doing the big build either to they see Emma and then they all start crying, or they don't see Emma and they gotta go save her. Is it important why she's not here? Does it matter where she is? That's a neat way of putting it. Like, don't stress about why it is that she isn't here. Just go look for her. Oh boy, where is Emma? Yeah, I really did think this was going to be the finale, but no, if this is going to be an arc, if this is going to be, like, not an epilogue, but an actual final arc even, or, final mini arc. So it looks like she's somewhere where it's snowing, and someone's found her. Like, from the boots, I can't recall any characters that were very clearly shown to have boots. Like, maybe the military guys that were with Andrew? That's all I can think of. But they wouldn't be, I mean, where would she be? Because presumably, oh, I mean, it could be as simple. This doesn't feel like Gargablar at all, but it could be as simple as as the Gargablar deciding, like, I want your family. I can't, like, keep your family here because you gotta go to the human world. So I'm just going to send you to Antarctica, or I'll send you to the Arctic Circle or something. And you're gonna die there. But that doesn't feel like a good part of Gargablarg's style. And I do want to believe that Emma wasn't lying when she said, this is what I wished for, and Gargablarg said that I wouldn't have to pay anything. Like, I do want to believe that what she related to the kids was the truth. It just leaves the question of, what could this be? I think it could be a fine final arc, honestly, if it is just she was sent super far away from her family. So the big final, the final problem of the series is literally just finding her on the Earth. So, like, she gets found by someone, that's why she doesn't die. The kids spend a lot of time trying to find her. That could even be like a long epilogue of, like, time passing as they search the worlds. Yeah, I could see it happening. Overall, good chapter. It is the first thing I read, so it is in the coveted Actage first and last area. In terms of my genuine thoughts, because Actage, I feel like I don't need to say that much about each chapter. It is a very unique series in how I feel about it. I can switch back to here now that Donut's on the room. Promised Neverland honestly is as it's kind of close to Actage in how I feel about each chapter, in that the overall series is really good and I enjoy each chapter, but each chapter is like there's not a whole lot of like big explosive moments or fight scenes. Like a lot of it is just character interactions and like slow movement and progression, which makes it, very satisfying as its own series. But in a ranking like this, I don't think it really reflects, or like it's hard for me to make it reflect how I feel about the series, because it is a like the whole series very good. Each chapter nothing mind blowing. So if I had to guess where this is gonna trend, I think it's gonna stay kind of in the middle of the rankings, like right in the middle. Because most of the live stream series I think are probably gonna go over. A lot of the pre-recordeds I think are gonna go under. I'm really excited for this though. Like I legitimately thought this could be the final chapter, and I'm very happy it's not. Whatever we're getting next, I'm excited. Especially if this is a hopeful arc as opposed to a like mean twist. But we shall see. Next is Actage, Scene 114, Ultimate Actor's Dream Part 2. So, kind of already saw the cover a little bit. But I do like the composition of the art very much. Like it pops, it's very stylish. It doesn't really fit Yanagi at all very much, but I think like this also, like the fact that she is straining to do the horns, like that fits her. Like this is her doing a shoot as opposed to just a shot of her being natural. And I think that's good. Like it also just feels very summery, very like retro wave. Yeah, I like the cover. So, Ultimate Actor's Dream. Last chapter, she was just about to watch a movie for the first time. A movie by Kuriyama for the first time. I'm so curious to see what. First of all, what is this movie going to be like? Also, like how. How does the manga depict his movies? Because with most movies, like the manga can depict it pretty well just by showing a couple of a couple of moments, a couple of stills, and then having the characters talk about it. But how do you get across how weird Kuriyama's movie is going to be with that same frame? Like, how do you make it feel so distinct from all the other movies we've seen? Also, I had a thought that I wasn't. Oh, yes. I am aware that the news, quote unquote, about the Actage anime was not true. Or rather, it was just a guy on Twitter who, usually looks at leaked scans and then just says stuff. So, I'm very annoyed by that. Usually I don't pay attention to leaks at all, or I try not to. So that one really blindsided me. The truth is that Actage is getting a stage adaptation of the Night on the Galactic Railroad arc, which I am really excited for. I really hope that gets taped because I want to know what that's gonna be like. Like they're not just doing a adaptation of the literal Night on the Galactic Railroad. Like that is an actual novel that actually has a stage adaptation, but this is an adaptation of the Actage arc. It's like, how do they do that? I've seen other plays that, have a movie within a movie in them, or sorry, a play within a play. The most famous, of course, being A Midsummer Night's Dream. But, plus it is a manga adaptation. Like, I'm so curious to see what they'll do with it. Because I do think, legitimately, Actage might be one of the only series I've ever read in Weekly Shonen Jump where I am more excited to see it in live action than I am to see it in anime. Like, for most series, I would say the vast majority of things, I think, are better in animation than in live action. Because, like, if you need to do anything fantastical, or anything, like, over the top, or you need to do, like, crazy camera angles and stuff, I would prefer to see that in animation than in live action. Because, sure, like, there is, like, some incredible crafts to live action. But at the same time, like, a lot of the fantastical things I want to see, I think would be served better, in a format where you can do literally anything, where you can display literally anything at any point in time. Whereas live action, I think, really does mute a lot of stories that I really enjoy. Like, I'm interested in the live action One Piece anime live action One Piece TV series that is being produced in the West. but I'm not more excited for it than I am for the One Piece anime. And I don't like the One Piece anime. But I do think, it gets across the things I like from One Piece. Whereas I think the live action series is going to have to put in a lot more effort and a lot more energy to match what I like in the anime, let alone surpass it. Whereas Actage, like being a story about actors, I think that is like like seeing a person, seeing how that human being settles into a role, seeing all the like little micro acting that they have to do. That is something I think is actually better to do in live action than in animation, where you would where in animation, like if you want to show a lot of like subtle like face movements and stuff and a lot of like subtle acting, it's really difficult. And a lot of that is stuff that you might do and you might not even be able to properly get across. Whereas like with human beings, it is a lot easier to do that. Or even like, big scenes where a lot of characters are like moving around, or like big crowd shots where you're looking at the audience and seeing what the audience is thinking. Like a lot of that is much better in live action because you can have like the entire audience like, acting in different ways. You can have each person doing something different. And then when they all sync up, it's really like, it's more impactful. Whereas in animation, it's much harder to do that without it, getting really, really expensive. Okay, so it's not even that they're just watching his movie. Like, they are just gonna watch a bunch of movies. That's cool. Okay, it's interesting that we're seeing this both from, like, the perspective of her as an actor, but also just her as a person, like, as a person in the audience. Like, at first I read this as, oh, if I were acting that role, I wouldn't have, I would have cried very quietly. But I just realized what she means is, in real life, if I were in that situation, I would be crying very quietly because, this character is very proud. If I was that proud, then I wouldn't have cried super loudly for everyone to hear. And I do like Kuriyama's, like, look at it. That it isn't that the person was a bad actor, but rather the character's personality is just alien compared to Yonagi's. Like that is a man who is very proud, but also when when he gets to that breaking point, he would cry right out loud. He would just bawl. That's also a good way of putting it. Like she can relate to the characters better than a mediocre director. Like he himself, I presume we're going to learn that he is a great director. I mean, we know he's a great director. I can imagine that the reason why he's so fixated on her is that he believes that he can get the most out of her. Like, he's finally found a girl who can, get into a character that he cares about as much as, like, they can both care about the character the same amounts. But okay. Like, I am also very happy that he is saying, don't worry about it. Whether or not you think a movie is good is totally subjective. Because I genuinely do not know whether she's going to like this movie or not. I don't think she is. I think this is going to be a movie where, like, as we saw last chapter, it flies over a lot of people's heads. I think it's going to fly over her head as well. I think, like, based on the setup of the first half of this chapter, that she is going to understand the character very well, but she's not going to understand the plot, or she's not going to understand the camera work, or something else that is very directorial. And so this arc could be about her learning, to appreciate both. It was a strange movie. It was just a movie portraying a woman's everyday life, but her face wasn't shown on screen even once. Huh, and is that the only frame of it we're getting? It wasn't until after the ending credits that I noticed we'd never even seen her face. And yeah, no one gets it. Moment of truth, what did she think about it? The actor in the main role wasn't acting, was she? She wasn't trying at all to express anything to the audience, and yet she still, even without seeing her face, we could tell what she was feeling. Okay. This is not a good reaction. But I like this revelation she came to. Of like, yeah, it is. I hope we find out who this actress is then. Like, especially since we don't see her face at all. Because it does seem like this is a movie that isn't just something Kuriyama really wanted to make, but it's something this actress really wanted to make. Like, the actress herself is not acting, and yet she is still, like, extremely expressive. To the point where Yanagi didn't realize that they hadn't seen her face at all. I think that is actually the main difference. That everyone in the audience just kind of went like, I didn't get it. Was that an art house film? But Yanagi picked up on the fact that, oh, that woman was really interesting, and we never saw her face. He made this 15 years ago when he was 20. And he doesn't like it. Like, he is trying to stop... like, he's trying to stop it from being distributed. Which also begs the question of, like, how is it coming out still? I mean, because he did this when he was 20, I imagine he probably sold it to a studio for distribution, and he doesn't have the rights to it at all. That was the best I could do back then. It was all I could do just to depict one woman's beauty. My current vision isn't just of a movie I want to make, it's of a movie I have to make. That line really makes me think it's got to be about war. Like, we know that he's been in the field. We know he's taken, like, a lot of war footage. I feel like this has to be, like, more so than just showing off something. It has to be, like, something with a very big meaning to it, which is also something we have not seen in the series at all. Like, the closest I'd say would be Galactic Railroad, which was, like, the story itself has, a general meaning to it, like, the book does. But then the additional meaning was that, we are exploring the life, we're exploring the director. We're exploring this man who is on the edge of death and what he has to what he has to say about, dying and how he can relate that through Yanagi and how Yanagi can then express that feeling of, of dying, of your life coming to an end through her acting. But even that, like, it was very self-important. Whereas Kuriyama seems like, he's trying to make something that has to be done. We're close, though. It's not enough to be an actor who is popular with the urban youth. I need an actor that old grannies and grandpas out in the sticks know. And that's why they're going for the period drama. Because period dramas are, like, yeah, that is perfect. That would be something where, like, if it is being shown on the NHK, like, if you own a TV in Japan, like, you have to pay the TV bill, and in exchange, you get the NHK. Like, it is, it's like the CBC here in Canada. I don't know if we pay CBC tax, but still, like, it is, like, no matter where you are, you can get at least one channel. Plus, being a period drama, it is something that a lot of people would watch just because, like every year there's a period drama. A lot of people just like watching them. The MHK. I'm not gonna like memorize these names unless they come up later as like actual, people in an audition or something. They all seem to be pretty big though. And yeah, like Kay's in good standing there. After all, you're choosing an actor to play me as a teen. Which, first of all, I guess that's not the period drama I was thinking of. Oh, this has to be the girl. That's why, yeah. And we're still not seeing her face. So it's gotta be, like, they're going to be acting side by side. Alright, and they are all there, so I guess before next chapter I will, like, try to remember these names a bit better. But clearly, Yanagi's gonna win. This was a satisfying chapter. Not as good as Promised Neverland, of course, but it's, yeah. I wasn't super satisfied by the depiction of the movie, but I do like, I can get why, because it's such an art house film, why it was mostly just Yanagi explaining what the movie was. Like, sure, fine. I kind of wish we could have seen more of it, though. And, like, if this is, in fact, the actress from the movie, then maybe we will see a little more, or at least we'll get a little more elaboration into the movie, and, like, what was going on there. Why did Kuriyama shoot this? It does actually, like, now that I think about it, it does strike a lot of parallels with the student movie that Kay made with the drama club. Where that was supposed to be, like, it is just a normal girl, but Kay was acting as, this aloof girl, as her previous self. Whereas with this one, it was also just a girl. We don't really even know what her emotions were, just that we never saw her face and that it didn't seem like she was actually acting. But I could see them being, like, very similar performances. And, like, Kuriyama did express that he was just trying to capture her beauty. So I imagine she probably wasn't acting. It probably was just, I'm going to follow this girl. That's all I got to say for Actage. Let's move on to Black Clover, chapter 252. Water Crusade. So we've got Noelle on the, like, right up here. I imagine it's going to be very Noelle heavy. I mean, we also have, like, the all-girl trio versus Vanita? Was it Vanita? I guess blood magic's a lot stronger than water magic. But yeah, so she's back. She brought back all of the generals that they've been fighting up to this point. I've really been sleeping on Mimosa. Like, when she was introduced into the series, I kind of just went like, okay, cool, new girl. But she has been so, like, competent. And I really appreciate that now she's not just the healer of the group. Like, she does have a bunch of different things that she's been doing. She's really an all-rounder at this point, with a main focus in healing. Vanika, that was it. Okay, blood magic and curse warding magic. So I imagine Vanika's magic is blood magic, and then the devil possessing her has curse warding magic. Which would be, I mean, they just brought it up last time. I'm sure we'll see it here. Yeah, Magicula. Like, I mean, having the water spirit with them means that even if blood magic is stronger, like, they could just maybe overpower it with just a lot of water. Or it could be like, they don't have anyone who can change elements. Like, they don't have Gray around or anything. But I could see a situation like that. Or, like, if they could turn into ice, perhaps. Oh, I do like Vodka, by the way. Like, her design is really cool. Not sure how much I feel about, the creeping darkness, like, coming up her. If she gets, like, a wing or something, that could be pretty cool. World magic, dark magic. Like, is this going to be a mystery to the characters, or are they going to jump right to the Dark World Tree, summon everyone out of hell thing? Like, I've seen in a couple of series like, just the shelves everywhere, like, the mental library. But this is, like, it's it's interesting that it is, like, a bunch of boxes, even. Like, it's not just... Huh. I wonder if each box is supposed to be, like, a different princess, then. Also, that does explain why she is so unbelievably powerful. Like, in addition to, like, being exceptionally strong and also, like, having a water spirit. Also, it does seem like she was able to do this super quickly. So I'm curious if that'll come up in the future. Of, like, in the middle of a fight, her, like, accessing information, then immediately using it. And yeah, I mean, first of all, they said this continents. So this does imply that, the four major kingdoms are the entire continents. Like, we're not going to go above the Spade Kingdom and there's another giant kingdom or anything. And, like, we know that there is presumably, like, there are other countries. Like, Yami is from another country. Presuming, of course, that he is not an isekai main protagonist. And, yeah, you'll destroy humanity too. It will take over the Spade Kingdom, so they are just doing it for the giggles, I guess. I mean, it's so clearly black and white, and I do like. I appreciate it to an extent. Like, the series has had, I guess, yeah, like, we've had moments of, like, oh, this is kind of gray, but a lot of the conflict in the series is black and white, and I do appreciate that because, like, Black Clover isn't trying to be something it's not. It's not throwing in intrigue when it doesn't have to have intrigue. Like, a lot of the main conflicts have been, like all the elf stuff, that had intrigue, that had, like, backstabbing and stuff, that had confusion, that's fine. But a lot of the other threats have been very clear black and white. That makes it really fun to read. Like, you don't have to worry about whether the villains are right. You know they're not right. This water cuts the power of your blood magic in half. Okay. But then like, what do they have for the curses? Not sure how this makes me feel. Like, I do really, really like Noelle's main armor. This is not bad, honestly. It feels like a weird left turn. Like, I'm not sure. I mean, I guess if we are going with, Heart Kingdom magic is more nature-esque, then it would make, like, like, this being an area that makes her stronger. Like, she would have to then shift her armor into something that is more natural, perhaps, and that would explain the tail. Because apart from that, like, nothing else about this really feels practical. I mean, I guess it also, like, helps her swim. Like, they are literally encased in water. This isn't we're underwater, but we're not going to act like it. Like, this is using actual water physics. So I guess, yeah. It still feels very out of left field for me. But if we see other instances of this happening, actually, I think that would make it feel less weird to me. Oh, and that's the final... Yeah, okay. Now, the cracks are finally coming out from behind her eye patch, and she hasn't really said I'm using, 50% of the power or 70% or anything. She's presumably not using, like... She's using an amount that she doesn't have to declare, even. So, I imagine this is going to go on for quite a bit. I'm actually really excited to see if Mimosa has, like, an ability like this. Like, not the armor, obviously, but, like, if her plant magic interacts with this water in an interesting way. Like, combining magic really is the thing I'm most excited about in Black Clover. Like, even the arrays, I don't really get the arrays that much. Like, I get kind of what they're supposed to do. Like, I get that they are, a better control of the ability, or they extend what the ability can do, but, like, it's still, like, in very broad terms, which a lot of Black Clover has been. So I'm not complaining about, not getting the super deep, guidebook information, like the exact, what level is this jutsu? But it's still, like, a bit too loose. It's too loose for me to get excited about, or to get, really excited about. So... if we get like a few more instances of how this works, or like how this giant pool interacts with their abilities, I'd be pretty into it. Like, especially if we are bringing up the concept of, creating a mana zone that other people are in that then, like, buffs some magic and negates some other magic. Like, that's a concept that I think is really cool. Like, what if Asta could make a anti-magic zone instead of, having the anti-magic in just a weapon? What if you could just create a no magic-y zone? That'd be cool. This one's gonna have to go below Act Dodge. That's just how it is. Next we have Bone Collection Chapter 5. Bone Collection's now in the pre-recordeds. So, yeah, I am glad that, being the big smart genius girl, she isn't immediately comedically misunderstanding this. Like, she looks at it, it's very clear, yeah, so she now knows, like, the gig is kind of up. Oh no, what is this? I mean, I guess it makes sense with the giant horns and stuff, but I don't think of yokai as being a drilling sort of creature. I do appreciate the main danger of this is not her dying, but her, potentially vomiting because of, the big swingy. Now, here's the question. Can he re-roll? Like, if he gets to Pyra, can he just use the yokai spell again and trade this weapon for a better weapon? Also, to be fair, I guess we don't know, like, whether the weapons are functionally more or less powerful. We know they're different. Like, he had a ranged one, he had the Nintendo Switch one. But is it a situation where he would have to, like, grab her skull to pull out the big super weapon or something? Or is it that all the weapons are functionally the same in terms of power? I mean, who could possibly save her? I guess the Exorcist King that's around right now. Gotta say, I don't really care for a lot of, like, seal-based attacks in most manga. Like, I don't like the aesthetic that much, but this is a cool one. Like, having it be, like, this big funnel for him to shoot the dragon out of. Or, like, it starts as, a big sort of cannon funnel-y thing, but then they end up, like, stuck to its chin. Like, that, I like that aesthetic. That's cool. I don't know why I thought he wouldn't save Rena, or, since clearly, like, all he wants to do is potentially kill Pyra. To be fair, we don't even know if he wants that. We just know that they've had an interaction in the past. Okay. Boy. I do like this character design a lot. Like, especially, the contrast between the cuteness and the, buff manliness of it. It's so weird. What is this? You talk like that. What the fuck? Boy. I mean, it does explain the cutesy vibe. It does make her feel like, is she 20? Is she supposed to be 20? But also, I have been thinking that, this is more of a comedy than a, like, people have said that, it feels a little harem-y, but it was only 2 girls. Now I can see how it could feel harem-y. Also, I do hope, now that we've seen this, I do hope she continues to use whatever this is. Like, I would definitely prefer the team composition more if it is, like, in a fight. It is this big, buff, cutesy man. So it's, like, they do know each other as friends. Also, I guess this does explain a part of why she wants to be in the human world. Like, she has been here a lot. It isn't I've only heard stories, but now I want to be here. Like, no, she has just been coming in quite a bit. I also like the sad boy t-shirts. That's got a strong aesthetic to it. See, at first I was wondering, why is she putting on, the adult man armor in order to play a video game? But no, she is just beating the shit out of Pyra. But I adore this gimmick. This is great. Also, I mean, this isn't a situation where they have to make peace. Presumably, Pyra could just be whack-a-mole back into hell and it would be fine, because she can come back. Okay, so his hair does grow. I did think that was supposed to be just his hairstyle changes, but it is physically growing. Also, I guess that is just society, but it does blow my mind that the yokai spell is completely forbidden, and yet they haven't told, like, at least he, as a kid, does not know why the yokai spell is forbidden. Like, especially as someone who uses it, I imagine they should have sat him down and told him, like, if you do this, you're gonna turn into a yokai slash you're gonna like widen the gap between humans and yokai or something. Because it is also his only ability, or the only ability anyone's ever seen him use. So it feels like they should really, give him a crash course. Like, if someone has, secret magic powers that could destroy the world, you would want to tell them, like, don't do it. And this is why you don't do it. Also, like, hopefully Pyra doesn't, like, eventually get used to gorilla mode. Because I do like this gag a lot. Like, I am really glad that we're finally getting an emotion from her that isn't super cocky all the time. And I do legitimately think it is funny that she is trembling on the ground, because we know how powerful she is. Like, it isn't a, haha, this person is being abused. It is a, this person who is hot garbage is, really scared of this, of gorilla mode. And also, I guess the fact that we know it's not going to really hurt her. Like, even in, harem comedies, when the main character gets punched, I do feel bad about it, even if I know the damage isn't going to be real or impactful. Because it is still very mean. But with this, we know what will happen is she gets punched into hell, and then she comes back. It's fine. It's just whack-a-mole. She's scared, but she deserves to be scared. So this is the classic, you are, like, you don't have anything special about you, but you are a vessel, and you can fill your vessel with, extreme power. And so that would explain how he can use the yokai spell without, like, just exploding from the raw power Pyra gives him. And it also, I guess, presumably means if he were to train and, like, gain magic of his own, it still wouldn't be a lot, like, compared to the size of his internal vessel. Like, in terms of how much he could store, he might not be able to use it, because it might even be, like, it might be a hot dog in a hallway situation. It might be a, like, the magic physically cannot get out because there's too much space. I want you to use the yokai spell to show the Exorcist Federation you can be useful. Depending on how well you do, I can arrange for you to freely use the yokai spell. Yeah! And I am happy that might be, I mean, first of all, boy, her coming out of his crotch is terrifying. But I think this is a dope concept for the series. Because that would also mean, like, it would explain why it is that this, kid who doesn't really have powers, who is hot garbage, could end up in a lot of, like, crazy, scary situations. Like, if it is a, we're going to let you use the yokai spell, but you gotta fight really, really powerful yokai to prove that, you're not more of a threat than you are in assets. Like, I think that'd be a really fun dynamic for the series. And even this, like, I am fine with Kazumi being shit on, because he is not hot garbage, but he is, like, even the fact that he doesn't know things that clearly other people his age do know, like, that does annoy me a lot. I don't have a lot of tolerance for that, so I like having a duo where I can see both of them suffering and both of them happy, and I am equally happy regardless whether they're happy or suffering. It's a good dynamic. When you finally possess Pyra's power, think about what you should do. What an exorcist should do. I mean, that also begs the question, like, if he uses the exorcist spell enough, like, does he end up keeping some of that power? Like, does it stay in him? Or is it that he can only, like, pull it out of Pyra, use it, and then it disappears? Like, we do know that, the potential danger of him becoming a yokai would mean that he should be keeping some of it. Unless it is a, like, just having it in you fundamentally changes you, and then you start generating it yourself. Shutendoji. That's my BFF. That's also actually a good, like, twist on this dynamic, if we are going to keep on going with they go and fight really strong yokai. Like, I love the idea of Pyra potentially knowing all of them. I mean, just with how strong he is, with how strong she is, I think that would be, like, a good way to have a, like, how do I put this? I don't think that Abe is that great of a character to, like, exposit, even though Abe is in a situation where she can exposit. Like, and, we will understand, yeah, anything she says is valid. She's one of the 4 exorcist kings. But I don't think that's a really fun dynamic. I don't really like a lot of series that have a character say, I'm the person who tells you all the information, here's some information. I like it a lot more when, like, the dumb characters or the, like, more relatable characters just happen to know X thing, and then they explain it in their own terms. Though I guess we could do both, actually. Like, it could be Abe explains, the clear information, and then Pyra says, but in the demon world, we say this. Or, she's my BFF. Also, like, what does exercising spirits really mean? If it means they go back, then presumably it means that they die. But if they do just get sent back, that could also be a problem with Pyra. Like, if her family, if her other friends want to bring her back, I could see, like, there's a lot of potential here. Bone Collection, it's getting better every single episode, or every chapter. Granted, that's not a big, like, dramatic jump, because it didn't start off that great, but here, I will say, this chapter was more fun to me than the Black Clover chapter. Like, we had a big explosive thing in Black Clover, but it didn't really shake me very much. It didn't affect me very much. Whereas, like, this did affect me. I do think this is a really cool development. It is interesting. It's making my mind race. I like Abe as a lot as a character. I imagine we're probably not going to see a ton of her because she is one of the 4 Exorcist Kings. Like, she's probably going to have to do other things than just hang around constantly, but I'd be really happy if she was a part of the main cast. I think she does shake things up in a really cool way. Next, we have Moriking in Chapter 6, Barbecue. Alright, it's still... I do appreciate how Moriking really gets the feeling of summer across. And I'm most curious about how the series is going to be in the late game, because, like, Moriking himself does have a time limit of he's gonna die in a year. And we are starting the series off with summer, which is the most, like, buggy sort of season. It is what I think of when I think of, like, this series involves bugs. It should take place during the summer. And I could see, like, the progression actually fitting, like, if the series gets more serious. I could see how, fall would be a more, like, serious time, and then winter is, when everything hibernates, and maybe we have, like, a really big shift, or maybe just do a lot of, like, fun arcs in the house, and then, spring is the finale. So... I'm excited. I'm excited for this barbecue. I want a barbecue IRL. We haven't barbecued all year. Yeah, I wouldn't call that a big victory. But fair. I'm glad that that Oka does have, like, a crew of girls now. Like, she does have a side cast. But okay, when I slice stuff, I can tell living things from non-living ones. This still feels pretty concerning, especially because, actually, vegetables are living, right? I mean, I guess not. I guess what she means by living is, it breathes. The blood goes through it. But still, like, what if she cut through the, the table? Oh no! Oh no! I mean, I doubt she lost her... I mean, I doubt the father lost his head, but... Oh no! You're Shoko's boyfriend, right? I mean, he does live here. I wonder how he's going to misinterpret it. Like, presumably he doesn't know what boyfriend means. So it might be, like, like we're family. Ah, no, you see, I'm her pet. Oh no, that's so much worse! This is fantastic. Like, this is what I was really missing from Shoko's reactions. Like, I really don't like her screaming no when everyone else is just going with the flow. I like this concept of her now having other characters around who can bounce off of her, or who can just dunk on her. Is that good, though? Like, I get why it's cool that he's not sweating, but wouldn't that roast him alive? Like, inside of his shell? Oh, I hope not. Also, I don't know if the line of "it gives me terrible diarrhea" would result in us saying "so cool." Though I guess, the sexy guy who only eats cucumbers is cool in its own way. What is happening with Oka? How did they get this meat? That is some Luffy-ass Luffy meat. Like, what is this from? It looks like dinosaur meat. Yeah, I kind of, like, I have no doubt. If you know me IRL, you know for a fact I'm terrified of the insect uprising. Or of the, things that are older than humanity conspiring to destroy us and then rising up and destroying us. Or even, just, the deep Eldritch Forbidden Knowledge thing. Like, so, even without Eldritch Forbidden Knowledge, just the sheer number of bugs should be enough to kill us, were they all to, do a big Planet of the Apes, if they were to uprise and try to actively kill us. Jeez. That is such a cool visual, too. Like, just, like the world being toppled and insects reigning over it all. So there are real stakes. Like it is a gag series. I don't imagine we'll get to this. Like I don't think we'll get to even like insects destroying a city or anything. But I do like the actual weight of it. Of Moriking isn't just, a good ruler. He is the reason why the world isn't going to be destroyed. He is deeply important. So he's got to win. Also, I do like that. Like Shoko is like legitimately she is saying that she doesn't hate bugs. She is, she's grossed out a little, and she specifically doesn't like Moriking because Moriking is wild AF. But when he's around, at least it's never boring. This was a really wholesome chapter. No, no! That day, the Aikwa family made a new household rule. No summoning insect swarms. I mean, clearly, Shota's fine with it, but I can imagine this being a little worrying. And this does mean that, like, I mean, we've seen it before with him, like, summoning the dog, for instance. Like, if things get really tough, Morking could summon a swarm and, do stuff. But at the very least, they're saying right now, don't do it frivolously. Like, if you gotta do it, you gotta do it. But please don't clean up our house using insects. Also, just the visual of, like, literally butterflies lifting up, like, this box or this frying pan. It is, like, I love the idea of two butterflies lifting up this entire frying pan, because that also implies that the insects are so much stronger than we think they are. Like, they're just hiding their true power levels. Moriking is definitely a series where, like, if I were reading Physical Jump in Japan and I wasn't doing reactions, I would read it every single week, but I wouldn't talk about it. Like, so far, it hasn't had a lot that has made me want to really, dive deep, except for Chapter 1. Chapter 1 was actually pretty big. In terms of content, I'll put it below Bone Collection, because Bone Collection at least had something that made me go like, wow, I'm really excited for this. Moriking, like, this was a more chill chapter. I enjoyed it. Like, it did have that very summer feel to it of, like, there's not even a conflict here. We're just having a good time, and it's, we have some light goofs with Moriking, but it's mostly just a barbecue. It's a good chapter for these trying times. So let's move on to that live stream. Let's go into Time Paradox Ghostwriter Chapter 3. Oh no, I don't have my phone. I can't do the thing where I say it out loud and then my phone does the typey for me. Time Paradox Ghostwriter Chapter 3, Two of a Kind. Also, I do apologize if this stream looks like balls. It is streaming at 720p, so it should be as good as it's gonna go. Anyways, so last time our main character met Itsuki Aino, the girl writing White Knights. I imagine she's very pissed. The lack of phone ability. Zaku also said that he was able to watch it for a bit before on his phone. I'm really curious to see what she, like, when the series started, I thought it was going to be, like, he's the writer, she's the artist. But now it feels like it would be the opposites. Like, if they do team up, I imagine she would be the writer and he would have to just be the artist. Because, like, there's nothing in him. He doesn't have a story he wants to tell. Whereas she clearly has a story that she wants to tell, and she spends 10 years on it. I mean, 10 years plus, presumably. Ah, Pep, I see. Never mind. No, that's a good dunk. That's a good dunk on me. Also, like, did she submit this for the Tezuka Award now? Like, if things were to have gone the same, like, as the timeline where the jumps are coming from, would she have submitted the one-shot now and then, like, spent 10 years refining it before gone to jump? She seems so mad, but actually, like, because she's not saying it clearly, like, I hate you, or did you steal this from me, I'm wondering if this is going to be a misunderstanding of some sorts. Yeah, because, like, the specific way she's phrasing it of, what is ababa supposed to mean? What emotion is that? And, like, last chapter, she also felt very, like, cold and weird. So I think it... I don't want to say too much without going forward. Yeah, like, especially with him overreacting and thinking about, like, is this genius also a psychic? I think they have to be fundamentally misunderstanding each other somehow. Also, like, going back to the the initial controversy of the first chapter, I really appreciate that. Yeah, like, now he has had it confirmed in front of him. Yes, there is an Itsuki Aino. Yes, she was working on the series right now. So I'm just a criminal. I need to go kill myself. It's time for seppuku. Yeah, okay. Now I am 100% convinced that there is no way that she is actually mad. There's no way. Yeah, like, especially with the sweat here, like, it is very clearly, I think, supposed to be, confusion sweats or awkwardness sweats, and not like, I'm going to stab you with this pen sweats. I can tell you hate me enough to want to kill me, but if you kill me, your path to being mangaka will be forever closed off. Now, you do raise a good question. Why would she be holding it like this? I'm not sure what she's trying to do. I mean, from this position, it does feel like she's definitely trying to stab him through the eye. It's getting hard to justify this one. Now, I don't. This is a misunderstanding, but I don't think it's like, this makes sense. I don't know, like, she definitely, as a human being, would not have jumped to, you're using time travel to spy on me. Like, the idea of, you snuck into my room and looked at my storyboards for some reason does make a lot more sense. So you're saying it's a coincidence. You drew a manga with the same title and story entirely by coincidence. Oh no, he is admitting it. I mean, yeah, who would believe that? But she also says, like, what do you think you're doing? Showing off your genius nature with some sort of fanciful joke. I think she does legitimately believe that he just happened to come up with the exact same premise at the exact same time, which isn't impossible. I mean, we have, records of people doing this, like, of inventing things around the same time. And we've even had, like, instances of, like, on two sides of the world before mass communication technology, people writing very similar stories. But I don't know if that would extend to, I wrote a series that I put into Jump called White Knights that has the exact same setting as your series. Okay, so she was a shut-in and she lives, like, super in the middle of nowhere. Which I think might also be, like, this could be showing that, even if there is nothing in him, quote unquote, like, even if there is no big story, at the very least, he has had the initiative to, like, to go to Tokyo, to live there, to, get part-time jobs, to work his butt off, to keep on submitting manga. Whereas Itsuki Aino, even though she is, this genius mangaka, she didn't do any of that, at least not for 10 years. Like, I could see how they could complement each other in a very atypical way. Like, he is the drive, and she is the story person. True, she is also a teenager, but, like, she is a shut-in, too. I mean, I guess, with Japanese law, you're not supposed to be able to get a part-time job when you're a teenager, but still. Like, if she's going to be a shut-in either way. But then again, I mean, I say that as if anyone can go move to Tokyo. It's super expensive. Even if you have a part-time job, it's not great. Is there anything that only you can draw? And yeah, Novo, like, I do think that, like, there are a lot of series that do feel very similar-ish, that come from similar sources. Like, something like One Punch Man, like, a lot of series now are kind of based vaguely around that same thing of, I want the superpowered character, but it's an isekai, or it's a superpowered character, but it's Mashal. And, some of those are clearly ripoffs, but there are, like, older series that tackle the same concepts, where if you were to do an anime adaptation of those, people might say, oh, this is another One Punch Man ripoff. Like, if you write, like, 2 shonen series, and you, as a reader, have only read, 7 shonen series, and someone else has only read those 7 shonen series, and they also want to make a series, your 2 series are going to have a lot in common. Plus, like, from what we know of White Knight, like, I didn't hear anything from the initial, like, talk that seemed, like, super crazy, impossible, innovative. It did seem like, kind of typical, but just really, really, really well executed. So tell me, is there anything only you can draw? Anything only you can say to others? You're not wrong, Zaku. Yeah, White Knight is basically Bone Collection, but everyone thinks it's genius. Or is there nothing you have to say? Are you just an empty human being? God, I do love the art direction in this series so much. Like, the reflection of her in his eye, it's, I really appreciate that it's not digitally altered. It is just an image of her in watercolor. Or, not watercolor, that's not what I'm trying to say, but, like, a more, like, inky approach to it. If this is a purely digital series, then it would just be, like, inky brushes. If it's not purely digital, then I guess it must have been, like, brush done. Bone Collection makes me want to be a bone, whereas White Knight makes you want a bone. Strong. I can see him, like, I can feel him being triggered right now. Oh boy. Now, I've never drawn my own manga or anything, but I've definitely had the experience in, in grade school and middle school of like doing short fiction and then realizing later like, "Oh yeah, that is just an episode of Power Rangers that I wrote down but I changed everyone's names. I didn't mean to do it, but it is very ripped off." And I can, like, from his perspective, as someone who just wants to write something that everyone likes, I can see why he would go with the approach of, I read a bunch of stuff that everyone likes, I'm now going to take those things and use them to make something that everyone will also like. This actually feels very relevant, like, not just to, like, an average audience, but specifically to people who would want to submit something to Jump. Like, this feels laser targeted. And I do think it is like very powerful that this like these statements are being made in a series that is like it is drawn with a variety of art styles. The concept of the series is like, it's not 100% unique. Like there are like it is borrowing from some things, but it is a really fresh, cool idea to run in Jump specifically. I feel like a lot of people working at Jump are probably reading this and going, "Whoa, this is too real. Big mood." And honestly, like, I do think, like, a lot of the series that I really like are series where, in the first volume, they look and feel very different from the rest of the series. Like, they've had, a 9 to 11 chapter runway to just kind of do stuff and to be a little rip-offy, and then they really find themselves. Like, a lot of older shonen do feel like that. It is also very ballsy, again, like, as I said in chapter 1, it's very ballsy to have a series in your series that is really good, because then you might make people say, I want to just read that. Why can't I read that? Why am I reading your garbage ass series? So I don't think he's gonna lie. Like, because he's confronting all of this, because he's finally like making this not breakthrough, but he is admitting it to himself completely. I think he is going to say, there's nothing in me. I have to say something, or else the future star of the manga world, the genius Itsuki Aino, is going to end up as a murderer. This is also just a strong conflict of, I need to say this, or else she'll kill me, and that's bad for her. Right, Zaku, that's also the big problem. Like, if someone writes out, like, Bone Collection, essentially, and then says, this is the greatest series ever written, you as a reader might say, no, it isn't. That's a real dangerous one. That's the thing. Like, it would also be very contradictory to his character if in this moment he could come up with something. He can't. He is like he has no originality. So I think he has to say the truth, for better or for worse. Nothing. What can only I draw? What can only I say? Nothing. There's nothing at all. But I believe that even an empty person has the capability to create good manga. That is so honest, because again, like, it's not something that makes me want to read his manga, but it is like I appreciate it. Also, this screaming speech bubble, like with the ink just bursting out of it, like that looks so good. Also, I do think like in the problem of you can't see White Knight because the concept White Knight is too good. I think like Time Paradox Ghostwriter does have a really good option here of you can see like the literal like the chapters that they are going to write in 2020. That's fine because those can have problems. It has to be like White Knight in 2030 is the one where we should only be able to see a page or two of it because that's the one that is mythical. Hey, homie. Now, what is her response? Me too. Okay. So that is what you wanted to hear, and that also will sell the idea of the two of them just having to come across the same concepts. Like, she is also someone with nothing in her. Which, honestly, makes me like White Knight a lot more. If it is, like, that also explains why it took her 10 years to make it. Like, she's not a genius. She just spent 10 years refining the series, and then all we've seen of it is the first chapter. I mean, Rest in Peace, The Last Sayuki, also had a godlike first chapter, and then it kept on going for a little bit, and it was extremely good throughout. Like, there's no reason why White Knight couldn't be that as well. And that was a series, like, I think about it a lot, because I have read the English volumes of The Last Sayuki, and in them, like, the mangaka does have a bunch of, like, after the chapter, like, snippets where they show, like, hey, I came up with this idea when I was 7, or I've been, coming up with this stuff for, like, 10 years now. I've been slowly iterating what these characters are like and what they're gonna do. And that explains why she's a shut-in. It also kind of just, it does, like, drive this hard line in gender dynamics here of, he drew at school and people liked him, even though he wrote some garbage ass manga. Whereas she wrote at school and everyone teased her and tore up her pages. I mean, that's also just a difference in schools, but it feels, yeah. But I want everyone to enjoy my manga, even the bullies who picked on me. I want them to know that there are things a billion times more fun than bullying people. I'm sure they only did what they did because they were bored. I really like, again, that ain't that's not a perfectly good statement, but it is a really strong sentiment for her to have. Like, if I were to make something really great that everyone read, like, it's not that they would stop picking on me, but no one would pick on anyone because they'd be reading this good manga. I do appreciate how, like, it seems like not even the server, but just the audience of these streams seem to have this big Last Sayuki PTSD. I really do appreciate this because this is also like the series is now taking a hard stance against the idea of draw something only you can draw, which is a bold thing to do. That's real bold. But I have to appreciate it somewhere in my heart. Like I do think there is this big stigma against remix culture or against, like being inspired by something very deeply. Or not a stigma, but like people are very like inconsistent in their approaches towards things that are very inspired. Like sometimes, sure, you end up with Mashal, but sometimes you end up with something that is really good and really unique on its own because someone saw something really cool and they had a thought that no one else had really thought to explore about that thing that they thought was really cool. And I am really interested to see how their dynamic goes then, because like I would really like them to see. This is a really dumb idea, but I would love it if they did like, in the end of Bakuman, like, one of the big final arcs was the fight against Crow. Like, the big manga in Bakuman Crow was doing super duper ultra well, and everyone just wanted to try and beat it, at least once in its final arc. In the same way, I could see an arc of White Knight that is at least Teppei himself deciding can we as a duo create a chapter of White Knight that beats the ranking of that chapter of White Knight? Like, can we make a chapter 7 of White Knight that beats the ranking chapter 7 of White Knight got in Future Jump? I think that'd be really cool if it was a competition against Future Itsuki Aino. And plus, we could see, like, the contrast in the two of them. Like, the fact that future Itsuki Aino's White Knight cannot be interfered with is really exciting to me. Like, what if it just stops? What if it gets canceled unfairly? What if, she ends up in a rut and they do an arc that's just really weird and off-putting? Being 7 chapters ahead really does give, the modern-day team a lot of time, to course-correct and stuff. Future Aino could just die. And also, like, there is the entire culture of Jump. Like, if someone were to take a volume of Jump right now from 2020 and drag it back to 2010, I don't know if the Promised Neverland. I mean, honestly, I don't know if the Promised Neverland would do as well in 2010 as it did in, when did it start? Like 2016? Like, even that amount of time might be, like, it might be enough to, like, make a really good idea not stick the landing, or to make a really good art style not really fit what people want at that exact moment in time, especially with the composition of Jump at that time. Like, we don't know what 2030 Jump is like. It's very possible that White Knight is the only yokai-esque series in it. Like, I've said a lot about how much I don't really care for a lot of yokai series just because I've seen a lot of the concepts before and a lot of them just kind of do the same things. But it's possible that Future Jump is an area where there are no yokai-based series at all, except for White Knight. And White Knight is the one that's really, like, creating this new wave of series like it. I don't know if 2010 would be ready for Chainsaw Man. Or, like, if you jump back 10 more years, like, imagine trying to run Chainsaw Man at the same time as Part 4 of JoJo's. Or, actually, no, the year 2000 would have been Part 5, I think. Right? Or was that Part 6? I think it might have been Part 6, actually. But, yeah. 7! Jesus! That's right, that's right. I keep on forgetting how short early JoJo's arc, how short those parts were in contrast to the enormity of Steel Ball Run and Shijouhian. But yeah, I don't know if I would be ready to sit at home, watch Cardcaptor Sakura on TV, and then read a volume of Chainsaw Man. I don't think anyone's ready for that. Oh, so that's also why she was aiming at her eye. She was doing the shonen thing of, look at my G pen. If you look at it, you'll be able to tell what a serious mangaka I am. One day I'm going to draw manga 1 quintillion times better than White Knight and show that I'm greater than you. So I leave White Knight in your hands. Good luck. The fight is on. She's so chuny. But then again, she is at that age where she should be a little chuny. Like, it isn't weird. Especially because she is a shut-in. Like, she was drawing her manga at school. She got, she left school. She's been at home all this time. Like, I get why she would be a bit delayed. Zaku, don't talk about Millionaire Cop manga, or Millionaire Cop anime. I do agree. Bad timing, but still. I'm so stunned by this chapter. Like, it wasn't until I was reading the chapter that I realized, like, oh, this might be what it is. When I started it, I did think she was going to be very mad. And I will say, I was not prepared for her to say, we're not working together. I'm just going to do something better than White Knight. Now I'm going to skedaddle. Like, I imagine they're going to meet up again. Like, he's definitely going to go to her for advice. Like, we have to have an arc where he, like, for a little bit, like, for a chapter or two, he rips off future White Knights, and then eventually he decides, like, I am ghostwriting it, but this plot point is something I don't understand. Like, I can't, I don't feel good just tracing it over, or talking to my... That's the thing, he has an editor. He has to be able to explain to his editor what he's doing. Like, if White Knight does a big, I love rich cops arc, and it turns out that, that is leading somewhere, I don't think he has the imagination to extrapolate on that and say, oh, this rich cops arc is going to be anti-cop. God, Time Paradox Ghostwriter is so cool. I'm so happy this is running in Jump. I gotta put this at the very top of my current ranking right now. Which, let me post this in chat, actually, because I know you guys can't see it. Since the pre-recorded series have gotten really, really big as of late, like, where my rankings stand right now is actually pretty wild. I'm just gonna paste that right now. So it goes Time Paradox, then the most recent chapter of Promised Neverland, then Actage, Bone Collection, Moriking, and Black Clover. Moriking, gotta say, not feeling too good about it. I mean, yeah, I guess Tepe could just be like, this comes in my dreams. I don't really think about it. I just, I sit down, I just write it out. I do it one day at a time. But then again, like, they're going to ask him at some point, like, hey, do you want to have assistants? And he's going to have, I mean, I guess if he does everything digitally, then he wouldn't have to have assistants come in and, see his future jumps. But even then, like, what assistance might be a problem, honestly. Really, like, the main problem of him being a ghostwriter like this really comes down to the way manga is supposed to be made. And the fact that most manga definitely is a more, single creator thing, like, more so than American comics. But there is way more human interaction than is needed for what he's doing, for what is essentially just looking at a future jump and ripping it off real hardcore. Yeah. Novo, I don't want to, read it during the stream, but seeing just, the length of your little essay, I really am, as soon as I'm done the stream, I'm gonna read it. Anyways, that is Time Paradox Ghostwriter. Next we have, what do I have over here? Oh yeah, that's just, yeah. Next we have Undead Unluck, number 18, Return. Someday my phone will understand that the name of the series is Undead Unluck. But I do have an accent, so I understand why it reads it as Undead Unlock. Let me look at this volume cover. Oh, that's so cool! I think it's pretty rad. I think, honestly, it'll look better in English. Like, if the English release just removes the text over here, like the actual colored text, but they keep the, the English text that was already there in Japanese, I think it would look really good like that. But yeah, and I do like the energy of it. Like, the splashes of color are really fun. I like the shape of the words Undead and Unluck. Like, honestly, just using that text using it like an actual logo, which a lot of series don't do. I really appreciate that. Plus, I think, the very, almost edgy look of the text, the very, it's been very worn down, contrasted with the art style of the series, is really cool. I'm not totally sure what this character interaction is supposed to be. It is, I don't know what Gina is doing here. But I do like it. I think it's a good cover. So, we got, well, yeah, it is still Victor here, doing a big goatsy. I guess this is going. I mean, return has to refer to the card going back into his hand and Andy returning, right? Oh, Victor doesn't have white hair, right? But oh, I guess this might metaphorically then be like Andy like pulling out the card and then goatseeing his mind and having Victor come out. But yeah, I actually forgot about the hair color thing. I think like Andy's thing is supposed to be that like he intentionally reduces the strength of his regeneration. So like Victor can regenerate his hair all the way back to when it was black, but Andy legitimately can't. But then again, like it depends on what happens here. Like if we see the card go in and then his hair goes back to normal, that's going to be weird. Also, yes, I was right. Like she is just stretching the shirt. Actually, no. I said she was stretching just the tie. But no, never mind. I was wrong then. Also, I was gonna say like, it is really neat that she is weaker against people she doesn't like. But actually, that is exactly the same as oh boy, what is his name? Shen, like Shen's ability, where in order to use his power, like he has to be fond of his targets. In the same way, like you could describe Fuko's Unluck as, in order to use her ability, she has to be fond of her targets, or the more fond of her target she is, the stronger it is. Oh, that is also neat. Like, in order to take out Victor and bring back Andy, they have to bring back Andy anyways. Like, they have to do that first. Also, how does the rule work then? Or, like, how do the rules of this work? Like, if Andy comes back for a second, is the rule that then Fuko's been touching Andy for a second? Or does it count, or does the body count? Is it she's been touching Andy/Victor for a while, but now she's fond of him, therefore the amount of touching is amplified by the amount of like she has? Ah, Pep, you're not wrong. I, that is real. That's a good way of putting it. If all the negators are based around how fond they are of X thing, I actually really like that because again, like Fuko's Unluck is very curse-like, but it isn't inherently a curse. And I do think like this might like the fact that it feels like such a curse could just be an unlucky interaction of how all of the negation works. Like it could be. How would I phrase this? Like, the rules that are put on society are inherently negative. Like, they are bad. The way that we saw, like, when we first learned about the Union. Like, if all the rules are inherently negative, then negating that rule should be a positive thing. So, even if Fuko, like, even if what the way carries out is she negates someone's luck, therefore, like, after she stops touching them, they get hit with a bunch of unluck. Yeah, you could read that as it is meant to be a positive thing. She is, like, imbuing them with, like, they no longer have to be affected by the power of luck, but she can't do that forever. I could also see Unseen being the reverse of, like, the more you like yourself, the more invisible you are, but if you hate yourself, you actually become more visible. Like, people are more likely to notice you, and therefore that person gets bullied a lot more, because people keep, like, anytime anything happens at all, everyone immediately goes to them. I could see a lot of interesting interactions with that concept. It is also, like, this has been consistent for the entire Victor arc, but I do find it super interesting that, like, his tattoos are a part of him. Like, when he regrows a part of him, like, a clone of himself, it does always have the dead end tattoos on it. It has, like, the date on it. It also, like, it seems like Victor is okay with being a part of the Union, even. Yeah. Like, I kind of assumed that Victor was going to be, like, super big badass, but he fights on his own, he wouldn't work with the Union. But this line completely flips what I thought he was going to be. Like, because that also begs the question of, why would the Union not want to have Victor around? I mean, this line is pretty strong, sure. But if he could be reasoned with, like, why would they prefer to have Andy? If they could, choose to have both. Or either, I mean, not both. I would agree, too. Like, Andy, like, a lot of Andy's, the way he is, seems to be very explicable by the fact that he has gone crazy trying to kill himself again and again. Whereas Victor is extremely sane. Like, I think the only things that make him seem crazy are when he says things like, this pathetic rule can't affect me. Which is something that actually exists with him. Like, that isn't a thing that he's not saying, your ability is useless on me. He literally can negate negators. Which I think might also make him very distant from everyone, though. Like, if he has been around, like, my theory, I think, last week was that he has been around since before any of the rules. In which case, like, his perspective on the world would be completely alien. Whereas, like, a lot of the Union presumably grew up when the rules were around. Like, even if some of them have come and gone, they still have a more, like, understandable view of existence than Victor would, or anyone pre-rules would. And yeah, Damage, you're not wrong. And that also, yeah, like, it's just a bad precedent to set. Like, it was fine for Foucault and Andy to kill people in the Union to get in. Like, that's just how the Union works. But killing people when you're already in the Union is a bit rough. And Victor is in the Union because, he's Andy. They're both theoretically in the Union. Especially because it does feel like the series, like, there is the danger of min-maxing in the series. Like, if you want to erase all the rules at any cost, I could see, like, a more utilitarian union saying, well, we're just gonna, if anyone is good, like, we are going to try and make the ultimate set of abilities without focusing on the people. Where it seems like the union right now is a mix of powerful abilities, but also powerful people. Or, like, people who can work with each other. They're a little prickly, but they can, like, if you teleport all of them into a room, they will all fight together. I also appreciate how intelligent Victor is because it means, like, he can fight the other members without just having raw power. Like, this isn't a raw power fight. This is a, like, Victor using his abilities extremely intelligently to fight the entire Union at the same time. I feel like this is going to end with him, with Foucault, like, making Victor motorboater. Like, something like that, where it is unbelievably lewd. And it wouldn't affect Victor, but it would affect a pervert like Andy. Like, that's also the only thing I can think of that she knows about him. Like, she doesn't know a lot of, like, other deep things about his personality or about his likes and dislikes. Okay. Okay. Is she just gonna pull him out of his brain? Also, good point. I was so focused on what the other clones had that I didn't consider that this one would have something that the other clones didn't. I mean, to be fair, like, there's been a lot of adrenaline pumping through them in this arc, so I can understand her, like, not literally not feeling the gun at all, but, feeling it so much for, like, the last couple of hours that she just kind of doesn't think about it. Like, especially since she hasn't really been shooting anyone. Split personality stuff also rarely is this, like, brutal. Like, they've already established that it is a physical thing that, like, has Andy come out. So, like, imagine if you're reading Bleach, and the only way to, like, to unlock Ichigo's, like, like, if he's going hollow berserk, if the only way to, like, to talk him out of it was if Orihime had to stick her thumb into his eye and poke his brain. It's so visceral, which also makes it way more impactful than just a big speech or anything. Like, she is physically trying to do something. Like, her thumb is taking the place of the card. I imagine any anime that adapts Undead Unluck can't do it in the art style of Undead Unluck. Like, the art style is so, like, crisp and clean. And, like, trying to animate that, like, you can. But I don't think it works that well. Whereas, like, I imagine a studio that could make it very fluid, which, like, Victor's fighting style has to be very fluid. In order to do that, you would have to make them a lot more, like, blobby and to erase some of the detail. But I could see that working out really well. Plus, you'd have to get the blood spurting on. Like, it would have to be on point. Ah, she's appealing to his desire to die. Like, I'm gonna give you the big unluck. Oh, that's so cool! Like, the half and half doesn't look like a good, like, I wouldn't want to see him like that permanently at all. But it, like, as a visual, that is really striking. Yeah, like, he already looks so weary, his eye is, like, half closed. And, like, Victor definitely has a very strong youthful energy to him. I wonder if that is also a result of, like, Andy having been around for so long trying to kill himself, whereas Victor, presumably, like, doesn't get that much time to shine, if any. Ah. Boy, that is one hell of a touch. I love Top's expression here specifically. Like, here it's more shocked, but here it's such a... Boy, and like emotions are high. Like this is gonna be meteor level again. It's gotta be. Oh, and that's such a cool ability. Huh. That that makes him like yeah, that makes Shen so much more broken if no matter where he is, as long as he can see you. Presumably he can't do it like through a TV screen or anything. But as long as he can see you at all, even as like a little dot, he can use his ability. That's really dope. That said, it doesn't look like they yeah, it doesn't look like they took Fuko with them or anything. So she might get hit. Huh. It's been quite some time since a person beat me. And boy, I said meteor thinking of it as just, the biggest possible thing. I wasn't considering an entire meteor shower. Also, there were some kids here that weren't, zombies, right? It's a little concerning. Yeah. Also, Fuko. I guess maybe if underground was spared. I don't know. They look like they're penetrating pretty deeply. Huh, I shouldn't have reset my acceleration, implying that Top has to like continuously build up his speed, and then he can turn it off. But or he can reset it, but then it keeps on going up. Oh, just jamming it in. God, it's pretty rare that we get it like. I've seen more series than you'd probably expect where a character gets burnt to an absolute androgynous crisp. But I don't think I've ever seen one where it's been done and that was the intent on, like on the person side. Like they wanted it to be burnt to a crisp or even like, they wanted to die, but being burnt to a crisp is just, it's a cool one. Like, yeah, you managed to kind of make it work. Oh, boy. Well, I'm glad that Fuko's alive. Worried about the kids. What a fantastic chapter. There's really nothing else I want to say. Like, I kind of went into everything. I think it has to beat Time Paradox Ghostwriter. Like, this chapter was really good, but it didn't leave me, like, chomping at the bit for more from Paradox. Like, I mean, not it made me want, a big arc. Like, I'm curious to see what's going to happen. But I don't have that heart-pounding feeling of this was such an amazing chapter of Jump. I need to read the next one right now. Oh god, why is this serialized? Whereas this gives me a little more. Like, this makes me want to really read that next chapter. If one of the union members is like unkid or something, so they were able to negate the kids when the meteor strike, when the meteors hits, and then they just allowed the kids to come back afterwards, that'd be pretty wild. Although I guess unkid is not a word. I don't know why I said that as if that were a word. But yeah, unkid isn't a word. Unhuman is not a word. Inhuman is, but that's not the naming scheme. Unbelievable has got to come up at some points. But what could save the kids? I mean, I guess if Unbreakable just happens to be around, like maybe he could put the stamp on all the kids, but then Unspace. Unhurt, actually. Unhurt would be a really good one. Though, if Unhurt was around, I mean, I was about to say, if Unhurt was around, then the Union members wouldn't have gotten hurt. We haven't seen any of them be hurt. Like, they're all fine. So Unhurt could be around. Alright, so before I go into Chainsaw Man, I believe Damage told me that the popularity poll results are in this chapter. So before I do that, I do want to talk about it. So let me just post pop poll predictions here. So you know that I'm talking about the popularity poll, but feel free to keep on talking about Undead Unluck in this, period here. So if I had to give my personal... I mean, I voted in the popularity poll, and I will say I didn't vote every time I could have. I believe I only voted twice for Power and once for Makima. Unpopular. I would love to see Undead Unluck do an unpopularity poll, where they do just, a normal popularity poll, but then in the manga itself, the big 2-page spread is for all the characters that got 1 vote. And then like, in the back, or like just in, the other pages of Jump, they say like, very quietly in small text, now here's the actual, list of characters that got a lot of votes. Unconsensual. Oh no. But anyways, for Chainsaw Man, which is what I was about to do before I sidetracked myself. In terms of what the Japanese audience said, I honestly think it's going to be kind of like We Never Learn. Like, I do think it's going to be mostly the female characters at the top. Like, I would say Power is probably number one. Like, I do think Power gets more screen time than everyone else. Like, Makima, I think, would be very fitting to be number one. But I don't think so. Like, I'm predicting it's going to be Power, then by normal Jump conventions, it would be Power, Denji, Makima. But I don't know if... Like, I honestly don't think Denji's in the top five. I think it's going to be... yeah, Power, then Makima, then Reize. Then number 4 is Aki. Then number 5 is... I don't remember her name. Aki's men. I think it's going to be mostly girls in the top 5, and I don't think Denji's going to be in the top 5 at all. Like, Aki is a character that I think a lot of people like. Oh, boy, I like her so much, but Kobani. Yes, I forgot Kobani, actually. Kobani's probably in the top 5, because we've been dunking on her so much. She's got the, the sad girl moe. So, actually, let me revise that to Power Makima. Power Makima... I don't know why... Reize cannot be in the top 5, actually. So, Power, Makima, Kobani, then Reize, then Aki is number 5. Then Denji is in the bottom 5. Oh, Pepler, you've gone too far! Chat is getting really, really cursed. I regret saying you guys could talk about Undead Unluck. Unregistered. I love you guys, chats. I regret you and I adore you at the same time. You give me such an interesting emotion. But alright, we're going into the next segment. We have... I'll say it before I turn the page, actually. Chainsaw Man, Chapter 71. And now, I turn the page. And I should really remember, oh no, I messed up. The reason I turn the page and say it out loud is so that in editing, when you jump to a timestamp, you hear me say the name of the series and you see the series. Ah, that was dumb. Okay, let me just redo that again. Chainsaw Man, Chapter 71. Bath. Bath? Okay, wait, what? This is a good color page, by the way. Like... I feel like Makima usually has a more like dull red color a lot of the time, but I really like this brighter cherry red. And the blue intestines are fantastic. Like I never got into when I was in high school, I think that was when the art concept of candy gore really popped off. I don't even know if this is a non-furry thing, or if this is only a furry thing, but the concept of candy gore is essentially like, like blood and gore coming out of your character, but it's not red, it's not like actual realistic gore, it is just, like, very, like, blue or green or yellow gore and blood and, like, guts and stuff, in a very cartoony way. Like, that was pretty popular, and I never got super duper into it, but I get the aesthetic. I think the combination of gore, but it's a really bright and pop energy, there's something there that is really cool. And I think Chainsaw Man really vibes with that. Like, you got the blue intestines here, you got the blue blood, it's all against this powerful lime green background. Like, Makima's hair really pops against, like, all of this, too. Like, even the dull orange of Denji's Denji's face doesn't pop that much, whereas her eyes and her hair, like, the composition of this is fantastic. Oh, do not get me started on Monogatari. I adore Monogatari. But, oh, Volume 7 cover. Let me hit that real quick. Oh, that's also really good. Yeah, like, it's Typhoon's meaty intestine tendrils. Oh my gosh, that is really nice. Like, I really actually appreciate how not edgy it is. Like, there is no splatter here. There is, like, even these, like, you wouldn't know these are intestines unless you knew about it in context. Like, they just do seem like some sort of weird tendrily thing going on. And oh my god, Race looks so... Whoa. I really, really like the visual here. Like, the way, like, everyone's faces are drawn over here, actually. Like, they look so good. Also, that's not Race at all. I'm so stupid. That's Hunter Lady. Yeah, never mind. Because I looked at these and I thought these were intestines, I then immediately went, okay, that's gotta be Race. But no, 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 no. These are the 4 factions. Yeah, so I guess that has to be German Santa Claus at the very bottom. Yeah, Tolka's Master. Also, I will keep on referring to, old man design as German Santa Claus, even though it's not strictly true, just because it's, it's the easiest thing for me to say to immediately get across what I'm trying to express. But, God. And yeah, like, Denji being completely soaked in blood, Makima being clean, the fact that he doesn't, like, he is not, like, he is touching her boob a little bit with his, what is this again? Shoulder? No, this is not a shoulder. What is this part of the body? The elbow? Yeah, the inside of the elbow. Yeah, you guys can't see me, so I don't know how I expected chat to explain this. Thankfully, Donut is here to tell me what the body parts are. But yeah, like, even that, like, it's a little sexy, but I don't think it's meant to be sexual. Like, it's not that he's groping her at all. Like, I think it is meant to be a more protective thing, but you can see, like, she doesn't need the protection. It is a very, master and slave vibe to it, while still making Denji feel very powerful. So close to touching boob, but so far. It's the symbolism. You can't hug your children with chainsaw arms. You can't grab the boob when a chainsaw is going between your fingers. I cannot get over these intestines. They look so good. Also, bath implies... I mean, I didn't think that we were going to go on the island trip last chapter, but I guess we are. It might just be like the classic post-arc lewd scene of Denji finally getting to, soak in a bath with Makima. Okay, popularity poll, Japanese results. First place, Power, yeah. Second place, Makima, yeah. Third place, Aki. Actually, did not expect that. Like, I didn't expect... I expected him to be in the top 5. I actually wasn't that far off. Where's Kobani? Kobani's car, 7th place, 9,878 views. Kobani, 9,580 views. Or, votes. I said views, I meant votes. I'm so stupid. I cannot believe that her car beat her. That is buck wild. That is a Chainsaw Man ending to this poll.
I've never seen a more... This is definitely why I didn't like Chainsaw Man than Denji getting 5th place.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think he was going to make the top 5.
Every Shonen Jump series that I've read for a considerable amount of time, or have read for double-digit amount of chapters at least followed,
yeah,
it's always the ones where the main character is not number 1 on the popularity polls. Even My Hero Academia.
Yeah. But yeah, like, the supporting cast is extremely powerful. Like, I do legitimately think most of these votes for the girls are not there because they're the girls. I do think, like, most of these votes are there. Also, where's number... Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Because these aren't in a, like, perfect order, I was kind of confused as to how they went, but okay. I do think, like, Power got these votes not because she's attractive, but because she's Power. Because she is the garbage monster. Like, because she is, a person that people really, really like. I don't actually like this image of her, honestly. Like, there's something about her face that weirds me out. I don't know what it is specifically. Like, also, her eyes aren't really doing it for me. Whereas like Makima looks fantastic there. Aki's definitely got his own mini harem here over with Himeno and Angel Devil. I can't believe Angel Devil is sixth place. Like that feels like a character design a voting thing. But like all the top five, I do think is like those feel like pure we love these characters votes. After that point, it's a little weird. Also, Yoshida got 10th. I would not have pegged Yoshida to be on the poll at all. I would have put Arai over Yoshida, to be honest. Like, just because, we got, the big reveal of he is, in fact, the violence fiends, but also he was just more of a character, honestly. Like, Yoshida's cool, and he is competent. Like, I don't dislike him, but I would not have voted for him. I also do, like, as a color spread, I do appreciate, like, whenever a mangaka does a color spread that is like, hey, here's the popularity poll, but it isn't just, here are the characters in order of popularity. Like, there are character interactions, it is fun, it does have this, like, AU thing of, I guess they're all going to school together, I guess this is summer vacation and they're going to the beach, they're on the boardwalk. I mean, I hope someday I am also horny for Yoshida, but I'm not. Also, I am glad that they snuck Himeno on here. Like, it isn't a top 10. This is a top 11, just to squeeze her on. Is this a power focus chapter? Like, some series do a popularity poll, and then the chapter the popularity poll was in is based around the most popular character. So is this supposed to be the you love power, here's some power chapter? Oh, good thing one of your arms stuck back on. Okay, so it isn't a, like, the arms popped off, but you can easily put them on. Yeah, like, neither arm reattached for Angel. Violence Shark are dead. Like, Kobani turned in her resignation. Can't blame her. Jeez. I once again request that you do the is this sexual power ranking for this chapter. For what, though? Like, for each character as they show up? Boy, Angel is gonna be a lot, like... It's gonna be harder for Angel to do stuff if he has no arms. Though, I guess, depending on how it works... Like, he does have a bunch of lives that he can turn into things. It's not just, he touches people, they turn into things. He does have, like, a banked-up number of lives. He could make himself mecha arms. But I imagine he wouldn't. Oh, actually, mecha arms might be a good move, actually, because that would allow Angel to touch people without them dying. Like, if the arms don't count as a part of him, if they are a prosthetic. For each page number... Okay, I'll wait until the end. Homie, that's a better answer. I think that's good. I'll wait. Oh, so also that's why. Like, she is still traumatized by the Darkness Devil. Honestly, not what I expected her to do. Like, I think it is pretty realistic. But after, everything she went through, I thought it was going to be more of a, like, ha ha ha, she was just pretending to be dead the whole time, and she's fine. And this does make her, like... Isn't there a Japanese term for, like, like tsundere or kudere, but it is, like, trauma-dere? Because I think that's kind of what Power's getting into right now. Like, she's half, legitimately PTSD, traumatized. It is, like, an actual problem that interferes with her life. And then 50%... I guess there's no dere with Power, though. Like, even before, she was sort of... Like, she wasn't a garbage dere. She was more of a soon garbage. Like, she kind of flip-flopped between being, very standoffish, and when you get to know her, she just abuses you. Oh, PTS Dere. Okay, that's a good one. I'm getting, like, looking at the chat, I'm getting this energy of, like, if I were the man to invent NTR as a concept. That's kind of how I feel looking at the term PTS Dere. It feels like we're on the precipice of a lot. This feels like this is going to change the world. Is Shinji from Evangelion not a PTS Dere? Anyways, let's move on. It is, I will say, this is, like, I can't think of another mangaka that has paired a popularity poll with, like, this person got #1 on the popularity poll. Now here is a chapter where they are severely traumatized. Oh, Makima's going on the trip. Okay, so... And they haven't done the trip yet, so I guess we might have that arc anyways. Like, I guess we got it, right? Should we go ahead and take the trip with just the two of us? Well, we know that Makima is going on the trip. Did Denji say yes? I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough. Is this the big is this the big character arc of Denji having to say, you know what, I'm going to prioritize Power, who is not a good person, who doesn't really treat me very well, but she is my friend, over Makima, who I have the big boner for? Like, if he sticks to that, that is a big move. But then again, it's Denji. Makima on the top left panel is such a mood. This is a powerful profile pic. Honestly, I think it would look better if you did crop its like the even proportions of a profile pic. The head I think is a little too wide or a little too tall. Okay, so he did choose not to go. Like, it is happening right now. Makima is going to the island. Denji did stay behind to take care of Power. I sure hope it's not just his wee wee got annihilated and therefore he no longer has the big horny. I do also appreciate he doesn't fully understand it himself, but I think this is like I don't think it's that he likes Power, like it's not that he's attracted to Power or anything. I think it is legitimately they have this very brother sister dynamic to them. And I think he does genuinely want to stay by her side because she needs him. Like he does like he understands that level of companionship. Like he and Pochita were, two guys just living their lives trying to desperately scrape by. And I think he might have that kind of feeling towards Power of, it's just like it's not just the two of us, but you're in a bad way and I'm going to be by your side. Do you think while he's Chainsaw Man, his pee-pee does the same thing as his arms and legs? I think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've seen a crotch chainsaw, right? I mean, we haven't seen the pee-pee, but I do think we've seen a crotch chainsaw, which it should have been coming from the pee-pee. Homie, you know it to be true. You gotta just accept it. Homie. Accept the chainsaw pee-pee. Also, let's going back to when they're in bed. Big props to Meowie for also just putting up with this. Like clearly, like Power's been like this for a while now. Like this is the new normal, and Meowie does still sleep next to her. Ah, have they finally unlocked the secret of making Power flush the toilets? Like, has her PTSD now put her in a situation where they can finally get her to flush? This actually seems very even. I thought we were going to get a gag here of like, Power shows up like once in this whole thing, but no, like they do seem to be splitting it pretty evenly. Ah, this is the bath that this chapter was named after. And clearly, I don't. I mean, okay. I think I understand now why Zaku wanted me to do the is this sexual. So, I'm not gonna say anything right now, but let's read this chapter and then I'll say it. Because right now, I don't think this is sexual, but I see the ribs there, which I have been told, Tatsumaki's ribs from One Punch Man are sexual, so it could be, but I feel like this is not meant to be sexual. Yeah, I cannot imagine, like, having lewd thoughts while she is repeatedly, screaming that she thinks the Darkness Devil is going to kill her. Damage. Damage. And this is a good reason, for them to have a bunch of, like, physical skinship. The big question is, how does Denji feel about it? Because I could see this going in either direction of, oh no, PP big, or it's weird that my PP isn't big. It could go either way. Like, I have no prediction one way or another with this one. Yeah, this is a big, not even a friendship mood, but a, like, non-sexual mood. This is a big non-sexual. Or at least it's being presented as a non-sexual. Again, I don't know whether the heteros think this is sexual or not. I don't know if anyone is fapping to this. Oh, and that's cool. Like, Aki's been pretty, like this chapter has been focusing mostly on Denji and Power. But I am glad that, we get this panel of Aki saying we'll sleep in 3-hour shifts. Like, this is a, it takes an apartment to raise a Power situation. And like, Power usually does not care about other people. So the fact that she is saying, please don't hate me because it's my fault you didn't go on your trip. Like, I do think that is coming from the hearts. Like, I think she is upset that she is scared of, the Darkness Devil, and she does genuinely think that Denji's going to be mad because he didn't get to go on the super big bathhouse trip with Makima. Oh, she's recovering. if she still has the energy to refuse to admit that she hit Denji with Kobani's car, then she's not better, but she's on the road to getting better. Now, Novo, I want to live in a world where you are correct, and everyone can agree with you. But I don't think we live in that world. I do think this chat probably agrees with you, though. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I mean, she is the blood devil. So I also do think, like, in addition to blood drinking just being a general, big devil thing, like, I think this also does say a lot about her that, she thinks the way to really make amends here would be, like, I can't do anything else because I'm too scared the Darkness Elf is going to kill me, but I will give you some of my blood. Makima told me naughty things feel better the more you know your partner. But, even though I know power really well, like, it doesn't feel hot at all. Yeah, and like, okay, like this pose, I could see why you could look at this pose and say, this is a sexual pose. And like, I do think the narration is really important to explaining that this is not a sexual thing, or that, like Denji isn't feeling lewd about this. It probably isn't that you should learn anything and everything there is to know. Same goes for all those assassins who came to kill me. If I'd known their circumstances, learned what kind of people they were, then I probably would have felt crappy when they died. There's some things you gotta know, and some things it's better to stay in the dark about. Whatever's behind this door, I don't need to know, and we're looking at that door! The door that maybe Poached is behind, maybe the Chainsaw Devil's behind, something is behind that door in his soul. And I think that's such an interesting, like, conclusion to the Darkness arc. Of, like, Denji is saying, some things are better left in the dark. Like, I would feel bad if, like, if I'd known the motivations of all those people, I probably wouldn't have been able to kill them, but I needed to kill them. Let me look at this spoiler. I'll just look at it here so you guys can see it. Jesus. But, damage. I could legitimately, like... Because I imagine the early threads, like they were back in the old days, they were either, Chinese rips that were then poorly translated into English, or just not even translated, but just, like, pictures of the pages. And if I were to look at this chapter as just the pages, like, I can see how you would look at this and go, oh, this is a lewd chapter. This is a real, Denji gets his bone on chapter. This is a real wowie zowie chapter. And honestly, Novo, I don't know whether her fear is justified or not. Like, we know so little about the primordial devils. Like, darkness still around. The blob of its flesh presumably has been destroyed, but we don't know if darkness can, affect the human world or not. Like, we don't even know what's going on with it. And yeah, she will eventually go to hell. And imagine that, like, having no memory of anything, waking up in hell, and then, one of the biggest, strongest people in hell says, I hate you specifically. You were here before, you're a bad girl, I'm going to punch you in the face again and again forever. Like, I get it. I also do appreciate that, like, Chainsaw Man is honestly very good at explaining to a young audience, the feeling of, liking someone. Like, a lot of series talk about love in very broad strokes, or in very, like, not political strokes, but in, like, societal strokes. But Chainsaw Man does go big into depth in, like, like, so you're horny, now what? We brought up Monogatari a little while ago, I think in Undead Unluck. No, we brought it up, like, at the start of this chapter. And I do think Monogatari is also one of the few, like, Japanese series I've seen that have tackled the problem of, okay, so you feel horny, but is that love? Like, let's talk about this for a bit. Like, it is honestly a very nuanced look at Denji's feelings as a, like, man-child, slowly figuring out what it means to have feelings towards girls. Also, big question, yeah. Since Violence Beam died in hell, like, is it that you die in hell, you go to Earth, and you're reincarnated? / your memory is wiped, depending? Or is it they were in the level, their souls were supposed to be on Earth, so they just reincarnate in hell? I really don't want them to be together, though. I mean, I like them as friends. I think that's the thing. I think I said halfway through this chapter that they had a, like, brother-sister thing going on, and that is the way I like them, honestly. Like, they are both characters that I want to have happy ends, and I could see them, like, in the past maybe getting together. But at this point, I think they're honestly, like, it's not that they're too close to have a relationship. I don't think that's possible. I do think, like, no matter how friendly you are with someone, like, the friend zone is not a thing where, you're friends with someone, therefore you absolutely can never be together with them. You cannot have a relationship. Like, sure, I don't think that's true. But I think in terms of their dynamics as characters, I don't think they should have a relationship together that is more than friendship. I don't think they have the healthy minds necessary to make this happen. And I do think they complement each other very well. But I think there's something there that I don't like in terms of characters touching characters, like, the gears of their relationship don't line up in a way that I find healthy or satisfying. Like, honestly, from the moment that Power said, "You can grab my boob," and Denji grabbed the boob and said, I mean, that's also kind of one of the big arcs that this kind of ends almost. Like, you could think of it as being a gropey skinship arc that starts with Denji touching her boob and going, "Okay, I don't know you very well. It's fun to do lewd things with someone you know." Or they feel better if you know about your partner. And now we've come here where he knows a lot about Power, and yet it still doesn't feel good. Yeah, I do think they are a very found family sort of thing. Now, granted, it's also pretty wild that Chainsaw Man has so many female characters, and there is there's a vague harem-y feel to it. It's not a harem series, definitely not. But, like, there is, the one male main character. There's a lot of girls that have expressed some level of interest in him in a, like, not even in a sexual way, but just in a, I like you, maybe we could do something here, or maybe I could manipulate you. And yet, none of the girls right now are girls that I would pair with Denji seriously. Oh, before the segment ends, here's the top 30 of the popularity poll. Okay. Let me look at this. I really like how this is laid out, by the way. Like, it's very utilitarian. It's very clean. So, it was Power, Makima, Aki, Raise. Also, seeing Aki's full name here feels so weird, because it does show, like, yeah, we don't know most people's last names. Very few people in the series have a last name. So, okay, Power, Makima, Aki, Raise, Denji. Kobe, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. But okay, so after Himeno, Beam just barely didn't make it in. Then who's Pingsy? Is that one of the fiends? Okay. It was it was a online poll. Like, I voted in this poll. Yeah, it's definitely not a Japan-only poll. Which honestly feels so wild, because usually in a lot of these polls, I also say, like, the Japanese viewership is different than the American viewership for X reason or Y reason. But this is this is everyone who knew about the poll. Plus, actually, we had more than one vote each. Yeah, it was users can vote once a day. So it's not like this, if you add all these up, this is not the sum total of people who read Chainsaw Man. It is, like, how many votes you were allowed to have. But yeah, so Pingsy is the one with the ponytail. Then I cannot believe that Quan Chi was under one of her girls. That is also pretty wild. Then Violence, Santa Claus, Kishibe, Fujimoto himself. Who's Kusakabe? Oh, right, the guy with the Stone Devil. I forgot he was a character. Future Devil went under Kusakabe? Really? Aldo? Who the heck voted for Aldo? I cannot believe there were 1,772 votes for Aldo. Meowie fair. Fushi fair. Katana Man fair. I see Tayo doesn't have an article. Damage, you've been slacking. Friends, City Rat. Really? City Rats? Then Madoka writes... This was the third brother, right? Oh, no. Oh, that was... Yeah. Right. I forgot her name was Tendo. The only snub here... I don't know why City Rat got this high. The only snub that I really noticed was, of course, the cat that was under the vending machine, Meow, I Want to Feed. All the others, like, I get it. This is a good popularity poll, honestly. I'm really glad that it was also an international popularity poll. Like, Some of these feel a little whack, but I do think this does accurately represent the average person's feelings towards Chainsaw Man. Anyways, we gotta move on. I gotta just tell chat you're not allowed to continue being chat. Let's move on, and next we have Dr. Stone. Oh, I should probably... Boop. Dr. Stone, Z equals 152. Doctor versus Doctor. I might check out the separate top 10 for the West later, but yeah. Boy. I do appreciate that it is a, face, split thing, but their faces don't really line up very well. I appreciate when that happens. Like, when I was a young boy, I liked the ones that perfectly lined up, but now I think that's too goofy, and now I like the ones that don't perfectly line up. Oh boy, what is that? It's also interesting that, everything has been riveted. It is, to me, strong aesthetic for this community. But it also implies that they have, those are big rivets. So that they have to have, a big old rivet gun. Yeah, so they're not even worried. They know Gen's fine. And they know, yeah, okay. They know for a fact that the enemy has been intercepting their signals. So how do they, without saying that they're using a code, how do they on the fly create a code? Honestly, it might be a bit much to also, it's not even say Kaku's name, but I could see, in a war of information, it is probably good to make sure they know as little as possible. The Senku face is so powerful. Ah, I didn't even consider that. Just having the equipment on at all could be dangerous. I mean, we haven't had to think about stuff like that for, the entire series. The concept of the enemies also having technology that they can use at will is really, a massive game changer. In most battles we faced so far, science has given us the leg up, but this time the enemy might have us beat in that department. Also, actually... Oh, never mind. I was going to say, the fact that the Americans still have cracks does imply that they don't have the power to, stone themselves and unstone themselves. But that doesn't really say anything bigger, because, the fact that the island had, the stone stuff at all that feels like a big anomaly, that they, rained from the sky at some point. If there hasn't been anything going on in America for the longest time, then that would have never needed to happen. We'd never crack. That's a good one. Yeah, that ain't Chrome. Also, so direct after all this time. Oh, and also, if rivets are, one of the big signs of the civilization, then, it doesn't explain the rivet fingers. Those are still freaking me out a bit. But it does make it, it makes the character design make more sense. Those are the main rivets on his design. Also, see, they've, in the time since, how do I put this? America prioritized inventing the gamer headsets. That's not more advanced technology, but the technology that the Kingdom of Science has right now, it's not small enough to do the gamer headsets. It's not necessarily better or worse, just different. I do think, by the way, we're going to have a scene at some point where they infiltrate, and then they learn, oh, the big doomsday machine or whatever can't be used by people with normal fingers. You have to have his special wacky glove. I do think the glove is going to be important in the future, apart from just being powerfully aesthetic. Also, I'm curious to know, what this looks like in Japanese. I don't usually read Caleb Cook's Twitter, but I might for this one. Because I'm curious to know, how they convey that his Japanese is bad. Although, I guess maybe, to be fair, he's using a lot of complicated words. So I think it might be that his Japanese is actually extremely good, and he's styling on them by saying it's bad. Also, yeah. I didn't mention it, but yeah, the claw-majigger is clearly meant to grab the bottles. And I imagine it also, swivels around the room. So, it can, the pillar can go anywhere from here to here, and then the grabby guy also goes down and grabs the bottles. It's such an exorbitant use of technology in the stone world. Oh boy, he's gonna say it. He's gonna say it. Put on Dr. Taiju for me. Oh boy. Oh, I also adore this. It like, yeah, this isn't a visual this isn't a visual gag. Yuzuriha did make a Dr. Taiju outfit for Taiju. Oh, even the fake mustache. This is incredible. And I do think it is important, like, the way you hold yourself, even if it is purely audio. Like, a lot of people doing audio-only podcasts do talk about how, like, if they're doing a voice or something, they do have to, like, physically move themselves. Like, if Taiju puts on the outfit and he, puts on the glasses, like, he is going to speak differently than if he was normal Taiju. I'm so excited to see, like, I have to imagine his acting is going to fall apart in this conversation. But if it doesn't, like, how are they going to make this work? How are they going to make him seem like a genius? Oh no! As fellow science pro yourself, you must surely realize we already possess a Haberbosch plant. Hmm. Oh no! Okay. A factory that makes ammonia, in short. With just water and air, they can produce unlimited gunpowder and ammunition. Why is the symbol for ammonia chalk peeing, even when it's not, even when they're not getting it from chalk? What is happening? That is wild, though. Like, yeah, like, they've already advanced to the point where if they want to break people out, we don't know if they are. It doesn't seem like they have an army or anything, but they could have an unlimited amount of nitric acid if necessary. Also, there is a language barrier. Like, I don't think like Dr. Zeno clearly knows Japanese, but it's possible that he doesn't know, like, the tiny little variances in dialects, or even, like, the variances in culture that would make, what Taiju is saying seem really, like, really dumb or really, like, brash. We are a collective of professional adults. It's something like your ragtag band of merry youths playing with science. So there's got to be more of them. And presumably they're all adults. Oh my god, this is... Ah! This is what... oh boy, I don't remember his name, even though he's a great character. But yeah, Tsukasa wanted... Like, this is what Tsukasa really believed in. This is what Tsukasa saw. We thought that Kohaku had the powerful vision, but no, it's like Tsukasa was able to see through the earth and see this, and he understood that this is the kingdom of science. Yeah, like, they have to know, right? Because revival fluid as a concept doesn't exist as scientific knowledge in the past. So that's not, like... He does seem to think that you have to have the consciousness in order to be revived. That's interesting, because, like, yeah, from what we've seen, it seems like if anyone is petrified, given enough nitric acid, they do come back. Though, actually, this could be a political thing in their society. Like, the doctor himself, like, might know, or even, like, someone above him might know that nitric acid works on everyone, but they've chosen to say that only a select few can be revived, to explain, like, why don't we bring back your family? Why don't we bring back all of civilization? Oh, yes, you're right, Zaku. Actually, yeah. The revival fluid is nitol. I was confused because here they have the thing of, nitric acid, miracle fluid. But that isn't truly correct. It does have to be a stronger acid in order to actually revive people. Okay, yeah. The factory yields nitric acid, and the cornfields yield alcohol. Like... This is a situation of just, they advanced so quickly in one direction, in one skill tree, that they hadn't considered, like, branching out. They hadn't considered, like, experimenting on how to revive people more efficiently. Because they revived a couple people with nitric acid and then realized, like, okay, well, I guess that's it. Like, that's the rule, we're not going to stray beyond it. Like, it is the difference between someone who likes science and can parrot a lot of science facts, and a scientist who actually does, like... examine the facts, who does, like, draw their own conclusions, who does, like, do research. If that's where this arc is going, like, also with, the idea of adults who think they know everything versus kids who know they don't know everything and therefore have to try a bunch of different things in order to get where they want to go. Like, I can see that being a really, that's really cool. Yeah, like, I do legitimately think if the Kingdom of Science had focused more on just other things, like just on, like, industrialization, to the detriment of, like, food production and stuff, Like they could have like progressed more in terms of mechanics and stuff. It's just with the like also manpower. Like a big part of the Kingdom of Science has been manpower and working extremely hard in order to make something happen. If this kingdom doesn't work really on manpower, if it has been more of a we have to focus on automation because there's only a couple of us, and as a collective of 10 people maybe, if the 10 of us can't do something, then it can't happen. And also we don't want to work that hard. Like I could see a lot of limiting factors that could have made it, that could have forced them to pursue automation because they literally could not, progress without it. Also, Zaku, like, I guess it is potentially possible that Zeno did, the thing where Senku revived a hand and it died, and he went, okay, I guess you're gonna die if like if I revive someone who's broken to pieces, they just die. It's possible that Zeno did that and then decided, well, what happens if you don't have the mental fortitude? Maybe we shouldn't try to, acid people even more. I do think his design would be a lot more elegant without eyebrows. Or if he had black eyebrows that just kind of like melded into the scars. Oh boy, are they gonna get bombed? While Nikki's thought makes sense right now, where they're looking at the plane, I also get the science crew's like perspective of they personally they have one ship or one big ship. I can imagine in this world going like, okay, if someone has technology, they probably just have one of those because it would take a long time to make more. I really like the concept of it being two kingdoms of science that just chose different branches of the same skill tree. Or different branches of the same skill tree, but also they were impacted by the places they were, like physically. Like the physical location of America, like just because of how broad it is, would mean that they could grow a lot of food real quick. Like it does mean that they wouldn't have to work that hard on, like, for the first year or so, they wouldn't even have to work that hard on harvesting all the crops because they could just grow a ton of crops and then harvest as much as they physically can by hands until they work up the automation necessary to make tractors and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm presuming a lot of things, to be honest. Like, I really, really hope we do get a part one, the Senku flashback, but for the Americans. That would be really dope. Okay, are they gonna pull off a dogfight? When Senku says it's aircraft carrier time, the Perseus is getting a total makeover. Based on what he has said, like based specifically on the smartphone, what I think he's saying is we're going to put a lot of wooden planks on top of the Perseus, and that is going to be the total makeover. Also, I have ranked all the chapters. I haven't been posting them in chat or anything. I do keep on pulling them up for the YouTube audience to look at, but I do because of the way I stream these. I am streaming a window at a time, so you can't see the second window. You can't see my rankings. I'll post them after I rank Dr. Stone. Oh, actually, I did forget to do Chainsaw Man, now that I think about it. I mean, Chainsaw Man, very, very good. I guess that goes above Promised Neverlands. And then Dr. Stone. We're really just barely digging into this arc, but it's so full of possibilities, which is what I really adore. The possibilities of Dr. Stone have always intrigued me more than the actual big moments a lot of the time. In Before the Perseus turns into the Icarus. I mean, I think the Icarus might be when they finally build the first space shuttle. Now, that would be a bad name to give a space shuttle, but I could see them doing it. I could see Senku taking it as, in myth, Icarus flew too close to the sun and he melted. But if he had used better glue, then he would have flown into the sky and reached heaven, and then he would have been able to rule over the gods. So I'm just going to make the space shuttle out of better glue. Also, I would love, I can see the chapter in my mind as I'm saying that. I could see Senku saying the story of Icarus, and then, we see, of course, Icarus as the young lad who flies too close to the sun, and then he says, we'll make a better Icarus. And then we see cyborg Icarus with, giant metal robo-wings. They don't have anyone who is specifically a pilot. Or, without specific piloting experience, especially for something like a plane where you do have to move very quickly, I would say you would want someone with very good like twitch reflexes and someone who learns very fast. I don't know if I would trust Chrome. Ah, boy, Ryusui would be I feel like he'd be a cop out if they just said, "Oh, by the way, because he's rich, he learned how to fly." Especially in this political climate, I think Ryusui really needs to, take a walk for 10 chapters or so right now. Right now would be a bad time for them to say capitalism man is the best man. In the same way, like, yeah, Ryusui and Yo should both probably like take a breather for this arc for a little bit. Also, without ammo, actually. That's a good point, Novo. Without ammo, I think they do have to mostly focus on, like, physical dogfighting. Like on, like dropping chaff or something. Or, like, just dropping a big rock. In which case, I think they could have two people. Like, they could have Ginro and Kinro, actually. Like, just for their, the fact that they are so in sync. But I don't think either of them would be good plane pilots, is the thing. As much as I don't like it, I do think Ryusui might work. Or I guess they could like balance it by saying Ryusui flies, but then someone else is the gunner or the stone thrower or something. I would lose my mind if one of the members of the ICP, like, they did say when they were launching the ship that they weren't taking everyone with them. They were just taking, a select number of people. So if one of the members of the ICP happened to be like, a member of the like, if they've learned how to fly as a kid or something, I would lose my mind. That would be really dope. And I do like the visual of Matsukaze, like, jumping off of one of the planes and slicing through the other one with his katana. Like, Dr. Stone feels like the kind of series that would try that at some point. Japanese steel beats flimsy American wings. But yeah, I think I will leave it at Ryusui flies and someone else fights. Like Kohaku maybe like snipes, but I don't want them to use guns. Like that's the other thing. I think it is more interesting if it is more asymmetrical. If it is a like Ryusui has to have the plane dodge the gunfire, and in the meantime they do something else to take out the other plane. Like they could stall the engine again, but I imagine that's gonna like they're gonna find a way around that one eventually. But yeah, I really like the idea of like katanaing the other plane or using the spinny spear. That'd be pretty dope. I'll leave it at that. One melee person plus Ryusui. So Dr. Stone goes. I don't think this was as good as the Chainsaw Man chapter. I'm hesitant to say it's worse than the Promised Neverland chapter. So yeah, between Chainsaw and Promised Neverland. Let me post those rankings for the boys in the crowd right now. That's where we're at. And let's read the final issue of the day. We have My Hero Academia, chapter 273. Now, what is Deku doing here? Like, Shigaraki's let off, the big destroy-y wave, the big erase-y wave. But I wasn't sure. When I first read this, I thought it was Deku kicking really hard and then destroying the buildings, like, in this direction. But no. I think what he's doing is he's doing the big kick in order to destroy the buildings before they get, like, before the wave of corrosion gets here. Yeah, it is the same kick from last chapter. Okay. And that's also why it has the big shockwave, because he's using like a third of his power at this point. That is pretty terrifying. Like, this isn't it's not an infection where you can just, cut off, a part of it in order to stop it from spreading. And I do appreciate that this is, like, that Deku doesn't flash back to, like, someone telling him about it. He does flash back to when Shigaraki was literally about to disintegrate him. Like, it does make this way more personal. This has been a very, like, their rivalry has been very separate for a long time. It has been a lot of, like, eventually they'll look at each other again. So I really appreciate that we are, like, flashing back to that. It does make it feel a lot more, like, then also him getting the big shiver from the first user of, he's coming. Like, it does help a lot. It's also pretty wild that, like, not an arc or two ago, or, like, 3 arcs ago, maybe? We had the big reveal of Deku has 7 quirks that felt really bonkers. It felt very like, oh no, he's gonna be way too overpowered. And right after that, we get super duper ultra overpowered Shigaraki. Like honestly, even in My Villain Academia, like once he had the power to disintegrate things that were touching other things, that was already pretty powerful. That already made it like very difficult for Deku to potentially touch him. But now it is absolutely ridiculous. I really like I do adore all the evac shots we're getting. Like they are trying to save everyone, but honestly, I don't know if even the people that the heroes are physically next to are going to make it out of this alive. Yeah, I think that I brought this up last chapter, but the only other ability that I think Shigaraki really needs to master at this point is some sort of shield that protects him from above. Like if Deku jumps in from above and then does like an Air Force kick, like that is still very dangerous for Shigaraki. He can't disintegrate the Air Force shockwave. But if he has something that can stop that, then he's pretty good. That I think like barriers plus all for one's like the big stretchy arm thing he could do, like not a Luffy stretchy arm, but like when he made the jagged tendrils come out, the ones that he used to like stab All Might and like toss him around. If he had those, yeah, the quirk activation tendrils, which he also like. The reason I never think of them as the quirk activation tendrils is because he uses them for things that aren't quirk activation. He does just grab people with them sometimes. But yeah, if he has that and barriers, I think he'd be pretty darn unbeatable. Crumbly Steely is a scary idea. Though, like, knowing the quirks are not even, like, knowing the quirks are a physical thing in the body, like, you can look at the quirk organ. I'm curious to know, like, how Crumbly Steely would work, because it seems like you would crumbly before you steely. The absolute pandemonium of this is so powerful. The thrill of destruction. The absolute desolation is so wild. And also, like, I guess this does confirm, like, Shigaraki definitely can control what he's destroying. Like, he kept the Exodus's cape, but he didn't, he killed Exodus. He preserved everything around him, but he destroyed everything around him. I can't recall Spidey, like, picking up a bus like that, but the pose feels very familiar, actually. Like, this pose in particular. Ah. So did Exless actually shoot that? Like, was he right to go, oh, look at that computer, that's a weird looking computer, let me go check that out. I can't believe that. Oh, those were supposed to be anti-quirk bullets. For a minute there, I was like, why would Overhaul be disappointed? I thought those were just supposed to be like, more test tubes containing, like artificial quirk factors. But no, those have got to be like either the bullets or just like little bits of Ares flash. That said, most of them are now ruins. Not all of them. They still have like a couple. Yeah, boy, I am so shaken. I am a big shook. I really want to know, like, is that just a flourish, or are Makia's eyes actually glowing there? Like, that is the big difference. I'm so curious to know if Gigatsu Makia has, the big glowy eyes. His face gives me a really big, stop praying for my father, he's gotten too powerful vibe to him. Oh, it could be tears. Well, okay, it looks like everyone here is fine at the very least. Oh, didn't you capture Himiko Toga? Oh boy, that's Toga. Oh yeah. Now, did she just slit his throat, or is that just a general takedown? After that big spread of like, here are all the regiments, here are all the lieutenants, like, that really didn't amount to anything visually in the series. Like, we really did not see any interactions between the people who are lieutenants and the people who are under them. I mean, a little. Like, we saw them kind of in similar groupings a little bit, but it didn't really matter. Like, I'm not too upset about it, but it does feel a little wonky to me. True. And I do think, like, story-wise, it still had a purpose. Like, just because something is brought up and then doesn't work out does not mean that it's pointless. Like, it does, the feeling of, oh, I thought we were going to see that, but then we didn't, is a valid feeling. Like, that is a valid thing to try and, bring to the audience. And that's why she's, out there. Like, she is very, very shook. This is the first time we've really had a sentiment from her that was like, that wasn't just a, oh, I like thing, therefore I become thing, and then I stab thing. She does want a world with the things I love, but you heroes mess everything up. God, the way she looks there is so, ooh. Like, the contrast of her scary eyes and no mouth is really strong. What is this hand? Is that Gigantomachia? Also, I do love the aesthetic of this page right here. Like, this, the close-up of Scary Toga, good, but this, like, the smaller Scary Toga, all you can see are her shadowed face and then her eyes. Like, oh, it's so good, it's so strong. Honestly, Endeavor versus Shigaraki is not a bad match, because fire is physical, like, fire is plasma. So theoretically, Shigaraki should be able to destroy his plasma. Like, he should be able to destroy the flames. But Endeavor can fly, so he doesn't, like... They should be able to counter each other. With the downside of, Endeavor can set the floor on fire, and even if Shigaraki destroys the floor, that doesn't necessarily mean that, like, Endeavor could see Dabi right before he dies, and Shigaraki, presumably, like, there's still, like, 4 or so quirk-destroying bullets around. Like, Shigaraki doesn't have a gun to use them in, sure. But even if, depending on how it works, like, if it's just you have to be you have to be exposed to the flesh, like, could he not just disintegrate a bit of Endeavor's flesh and then slip the bullet in? Like, I could see Endeavor losing his powers here. I think, like, specifically, destroying the powers, like, destroying the quirk of the #1 hero right now would be pretty scary. Especially because people know now about All Might, like, how decrepit All Might was. I could see a big rumor starting that All Might was, hit by one of the quirk-destroying bullets, and, the government's covering that up. We also, like, we don't know what's going on with Best Jeanist. Is he dead? We assume not, but maybe... I mean, Hawks is going to have a tough time being #1. Edgeshot, I guess Edgeshot would be, like... I mean, he's been very competent, but he's also so young. Like, comparatively to the other heroes. Not, like, he's no Camry Woods, sure, but, like, he is very youthful. Also, man, Shigaraki looks so final boss-like here. Like, he feels a lot to me like Magneto, almost. Like, Magneto when he doesn't have the helmet on. Like, where he's got, like, the silver hair, and then he's got, like, the big cloak, and he's got, like, the body armor under him. Like, this design is fantastic for Shigaraki. Especially, like, the contrast between his Fae-like, no-detail hair and the very textured, very detailed cloak. Shigaraki's really evolved from a character I didn't care about at all, like, to the point where I didn't think of him as being a villain, really. He was just sort of a guy. Like, he was set up as the villain, but, as, like, one of the main villains, but he didn't feel like it to me for the longest time. But now he's really grown into his own. He also gives me sort of, like, almost Griffith vibes visually. Like, he's got the bottom half of Femto and then, like, the head of Griffith. And then the ugly face of, I guess, Griffith when he was tortured. I mean, Deku like, we've seen 100% Deku, like, infinite 100% Deku, and he has the glowing hair. So I could see something similar there, where, like, his hair is always glowing, but it's still textured, and then... I imagine his outfit would have to get a lot more bright and white, because that would contrast very well with Bakugo's, like, very dark look that his outfit's been getting, and then he and Shigaraki would look very different. Like, one has very bright white hair and then a very dark outfit, and then Deku has very dark hair and very bright white outfits. I could see something like that. I mean, I could see Horikoshi extrapolating, or even not... I was gonna say, like, all for one, like, if you use enough of all for one, like, your clothing becomes transparent. But I think the easier way to do it would just be to say that one of his other quirks changes the way his outfit looks, or when he unlocks all of the quirks, they combine and he gets a new outfit. Okay, I don't fully believe that one, but I could see like in the same way that Shigaraki's hair is the result of him like mentally ascending. I could see Deku like gaining a physical change from mentally ascending, or from like finally making contact with all the previous members of All for One. Anyways, My Hero, so good, so consistently good. Like it has the consistency of a series like The Promised Neverland or Act Dodge, but it also has the hype and excitement of a series like Black Clover. It's really like I get why it's so big, why it's so popular, why people love it. This chapter was no Undead Unluck for me. Like the visuals of seeing the city being destroyed like were big, but they didn't really thrill me that much. I didn't get a very clear like it wasn't scary for me, but it also wasn't super triumphant for me. So I can't realistically put it above like even Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man had a big strong emotions that really messed with me. The main thing is I cannot, as much as I like the concept of, he destroys them and he takes their quirks. I don't know how physically that would work, and I know I'm really harping on that in a series where you can also transfer your minds through your quirk, and ghosts exist and not ghosts, but like quirk ghosts are around and stuff. Like quirks are pretty wild. But I want to believe in, the importance of the quirks also being a physical organ. Like I do think the power of All for One should necessitate some sort of like you touch the quirk factor and then you like scan it, and that's how you're able to either absorb, like either you take it out of the person or you're able to replicate it. Whereas disintegration is the exact opposite of scanning something and replicating it or taking it. It is destroying it. Anyways, I'm going to put My Hero above Dr. Stone. Yeah, that feels good to me. So final ranking is Undead Unluck, Time Paradox, Chainsaw Man, My Hero, Dr. Stone, Promised Neverland, Act Dodge, Bone Collection, Moriking, and at the very bottom we have Black Clover. Alright. After this is the author comments, but I'm not going to make you guys stick around for that one. I mean, unless you want to. I guess I could just keep this going, but if you want to leave, you can leave. I guess there is no reason for me to tell everyone that you have to leave for this. I can just keep on streaming it. So next we have those author comments. I would say, like, this arc of Black Clover has been really dope. I can see why most people stopped talking about it after the previous arc, though. Like, a lot of the series was building up to the previous arc. And then this current arc isn't really like building up to another big arc or anything. It is another giant arc. I mean, I guess overall, like the overall scope of Black Clover is always rising. But I think a big reason why people aren't talking about this arc is because like it's very big and it happened very quick. So there wasn't like the slow hype. So Posca says, thank you for waiting an extra month for the graphic novel. It's almost done. July is so close. We did have a very long break between chapters. So I wonder if that wasn't actually for the chapters or if it was just for the tankobons. Like maybe they had some extras that they really wanted to do, or like things were getting backed up and they just needed a little extra time. Either way, like I'm very happy for weekly mangaka to get a break. Like everyone deserves a break. Fujimoto thinks that the new Delicious Dungeon volume was great. I really need to get back into Dungeon Meshi. He continues the tradition. But yeah, like, I can easily imagine him loving Dungeon Meshi, like, week to week. Like, it has a strong aesthetic. It is a series that, honestly, I cannot believe more people don't love Dungeon Meshi. Actage mangaka, cute as always. Tsunehiro Date. Apparently you can catch fish and birds and even alligators with Mentos and Cola. It's a mystery, but Mentos Cola is amazing. How does that work? Like, I'm very, very, I think everyone is aware of, you put the Mentos in the Diet Coke, and then it, does the big pew pew. Oh no! If that's like a... Okay, is this like a fake Twitter, TikTok thing? Ah, okay, thanks for telling me. I don't want to spread false information on my tiny, tiny platform. But oh, that ain't gonna that's not gonna age very well. That is not information from 2030. Ah, Taishi, of course, being cute as always, and also having the awful ass timing. But honestly, I do like it when mangaka like spread out the congratulations across more than one volume or more than one issue of Jump. Like it makes it feel more impactful to get some comments like right on the final chapter and then afterwards there are a couple of comments still. I started creating storyboards on my computer and they become much easier to read. The power of science. Oh boy, Inigaki's finally doing digital storyboards. I do imagine this lockdown's really going to change a lot of, like, not just how mangaka do things, but also specifically, like, how editorial works, like, all that stuff. All the things where, like, you're expected to physically go to a location for no real reason. I'm interested to see how this impacts manga in general. Like, I imagine a lot of people are still going to want to, like, physically draw the storyboards and physically, like, give them to their assistants, physically talk to the editors, and that's not wrong. I'm definitely not saying that. But I am curious to see if this is going to, like, lead to a bunch of different changes and different, like, like, if the culture around manga is going to be different as a result of this. Like, I remember reading author comments and, like, just stuff in manga where people were talking about how they couldn't fax in their storyboards, or how they started faxing in their storyboards, and that's a big game changer, and that's so wild. A normal rhinoceros beetle is really weak against heat. Never put them close to fire. Then why did you put that in Moriking? That is... It is full of Jobin energy. That's also bad advice to put into the series. Like, they should have just said that, yeah, Moriking, like, sure, he has the armor, so he personally is okay with fire, but, like, put that in the series. Don't put that in author comments. What are you doing? Also, the panty head avatar is good. It's a good avatar. After finishing the chapter, I had a rush duel with my assistants. I got my butt kicked. I had a long talk with Zaku a little while ago about rush duels and how I feel about them. I've... After watching the first episode of Sevens, I feel really weird about the idea of Sevens being about, wanting to revolutionize the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! By saying, current Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels are slow and broken and full of weird combos. I want to create a world of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where everyone plays by these home rules, where, normal summons are cool again. And you don't have to constantly be doing, like, Exceed summons, and you don't have to summon 5 monsters in one turn and then do a multi-chain. You don't have to also fill your entire spell/trap area with more monsters. You don't need to have 10 monsters on the field all the time in order to be relevant. But it feels really weird that the anime is that, and then the game itself is just straight up saying, you gotta just buy new cards. You don't get to use your old Yu-Gi-Oh cards anymore. You gotta buy the Rush Duel cards. Oh, it's cool. Like, I assume the V-League is like the, yeah, like the... Huh. I know a lot of mangaka don't use, like, actual logos and stuff just because. So I'm glad that Haikyuu, at the very least, is, like, going for, like... They're probably not, like... He's not sponsored or anything. But, oh, okay, actually. Yeah, so he was able to use it in the manga, for extras and graphic novels, and in advertisements. So it's actually, like, a big, like, he can use it everywhere. That's actually way different than what I was about to say. Recently, I'm sometimes hot and sometimes cold. I sometimes wear socks and sometimes don't. That's how my days have been going. Oh, Gege Akutami with the super rare not about Jujutsu Kaisen comments. Though, to be fair, I'm not reading Jujutsu Kaisen, so this chapter probably was about ramen. Dogs have always barked at me. Is there a reason? Tell me. Big mood. The page after Victor first appears had a picture of Super Saiyan 3 Goku. What a shock. I'm not a fan of gross stuff, but the food in the show Hannibal looks good. Perhaps because Mads is so sexy. Big agree. The food in Hannibal is buck wild. You can also see the blog of the person who made all the food on Hannibal, and that blog is also wild, because the writers would just say stuff like, like, as the season was going on, they would just hand over the script, and in the script it would be like, hey, so there's a bunch of sardines from, like, an Eastern European country that only are born, like, once every 7 years, and in this dish, they are layered into a DNA double helix. And you gotta do that in 1 week. Like, Hannibal is insane. The third season, especially, does not feel like network television in the slightest. The first season barely feels like network television, but the third season feels like a fever dream. Would highly, highly recommend. Meanwhile, the mangaka of Guardian of the Witch, I got Netflix after my editor recommended it. The original shows are great. What a boomer. That's a big boomer comment. I easily reached the top rank of God on the food delivery app Demaikun. If there was an even higher rank, I think I could get it. Alright, that is Weekly Shonen Jump for the week of May 31st, 2020. Thank you all so much for hanging around on the stream. Guardian of the Witch, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't popped in for a while. Like, with a lot of series, I'm caught up with Mashal right now. Just because it is a very low energy series, I can, catch up whenever I want. Last time I caught up with Guardian of the Witch was, I think, chapter 12? It was not good. Would not recommend Guardian of the Witch. I might catch up again. I probably won't, actually. It's not good. Would not recommend. But yes, thank you all for hanging around. This was super duper fun. Hopefully this will come out sometime later this week. I'll try to get it out before Friday, but realistically, it's probably going to come out on Friday. Thank you all so much. Bye for now. Nya nya.